let's do this one more time. How's it going? Gon here. The last 2 years have been crazy. I tried to jumpstart my own business 3 times and failed miserably. One Christmas day I hijacked the talk show and received Jagger's party quiz. Then because of the hijacking and apparent murder that occurred last October, my companion sales were put on a prize. And now, with everyone being wanted, we had no choice but to create the Gags Guild, an organization that sold fake Pokemon cards. It failed once again. But now, finally, we joined the mercenary economy. We don't know how it works, but I sure hope it's legal. I don't know how I got to this point. I don't know what caused all of this. What was my turning point here? Well, there's not much I can do. Except play Talking Tom!
Now open your wings, you can do it. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up to the top of the world.
Where do I start with Talking Friends? Phone. You're most definitely watching this on one.
Not exactly.
Talking Friends is just something. I don't know what happened in the last decade, but the franchise became a shadow of its former self, and that's undeniable. We used to have shit like this, and now Outfit 7 is clinging into their lives producing nobody wants. Just like every other mobile gaming company. But man, I remember how their stuff was the best, so let's reminisce on the old Talking Friends games. Mobile games in the late 2000s and early 2010s were the best. Angry Birds, Doodle Jump, Fruit Ninja, Plants vs Zombies, those old apps where you pretended to drink beer while being a minor? Those were the best. And one of the most popular apps at the time were the Talking Friends apps. Talking Tom, Talking Angela, Talking Ben, Talking Bacteria John. Yeah, they later got pretty creative with the apps they created, but let's begin with the one that started it all, the genesis of Talking Friends.
What the hell, boy?
The very first game from the Talking Friends franchise is Talking Tomcat, released in 2010. 2010, man, the year where we got Xenoblade Chronicles and Talking Tom. One of the best years of all time. Okay, so Talking Tom is pretty simple, just say something and he'll repeat after you in a high-pitched voice. Or you can just beat it out of him. You can even give milk to the little guy. When the app launched originally, it costed 99 cents, later for obvious reasons, the app became free, but some features were put behind a paywall of 99 cents. And what were those features? Make Tom play the cymbals, fart, throw a pie at the screen, or try to eat Larry the bird. Oh, finally! The first Talking Tom game was great, everyone who played it loved it and loved the concept. This game was the pioneer of the speak and repeat genre of mobile games. Damn, what a terrible name, how did I come up with this? If I rank Talking Tom the cat in a tier list, I would put it in the B tier, it's good for what it is. The game is great, but pretty simple, even at the time. So what did Outfit 7 do? Release the same game in less than a month, but this time with a baby hippo. It's Talking Baby Hippo. And this is a Talking M&M. It's honestly very impressive how hippos go from Talking Baby Hippo 2010 mobile game to murderous killing machines. Alright, so Talking Baby Hippo is very similar to Talking Tom, obviously, but with some neat new features. For example, you can feed carrots to Baby Hippo. He is not even closing his mouth, okay. You can pull a pacifier and force its way to his mouth, but he'll end up just spitting it out. Or you can just spam the button until the sun collapses itself. You can blow up a balloon, cool, and seize in the presence of a butterfly. Now that I'm thinking about it, he's one miserable baby. Baby Hippo is a weird game, but I love the aesthetic and the wax looking ass graphics. This one is going to the C tier. And guess what? Mere 14 days later, a new Talking Friends game released, Talking Larry the Bird. Isn't that swell? I love Talking Larry the Bird. This is one that I had installed in my phone as late as 2022 via illegal means. But don't blame me, blame Outfit 7 for removing it from the Play Store. Yes, they gave Larry Bird from the original Talking Tom his own game, and this one is by far the best one. What are we thinking about this title screen? In terms of animations, Talking Larry the Bird is very creative in that aspect. You can blow him up 2 different ways, you can kill him with lightning, and the best of all, play piano. The internet loves this bird, I see more memes about him than the main character. Larry is just him. Well, he was always him to me. Easy A tier. If you know me, you know that I hate Sonic the Hedgehog. But this next game has an hedgehog, so is it finally time to talk about a good hedgehog for once? Oh boy, I can't wait! Yeah, so Talking Harry the Hedgehog, I don't like this one. I've never played this one until now, so I don't have any emotional connection, and that means I can say whatever I want about it. This game is ass. The graphics are certainly graphics, we have lame animations except the one where he just glows and turns into a ninja. Throughout Heaven and the Log, I alone am the enlightened one. Actually, this animation caused some controversy, funnily enough. Apparently Harry's bandana has the Rising Sun flag and some people did not like that, so Outfit 7 later removed it in 2012. My APK still has the flag, so I have the rare first edition print of Talking Harry the Hedgehog that I downloaded off the internet in 2024. Awesome. Back to the animations. The other animation turns Harry into Neo from the Matrix and you can throw cans at him. Yo, look, he did the thing! Yeah, so far, this is the worst Outfit 7 game I've taken a look at. I don't know if someone can top the sheer lameness of Harry the Hedgehog. E tier. Still better than Sonic Frontiers though. I love this one, I could talk about this one for hours! Did you see how he moves? I love when he does that. To put it simply, Talking Robbie the Robot is peak. Talking Robbie the Robot was a very unique game and it functioned in a different way compared to the other Talking Friends games. Instead of speaking to the mic and Robbie repeating it, well, you can still do that, you could just type the prompt and Robbie would repeat it, without any errors. But the best thing about Robbie is his dance. I love when he does that. Unfortunately, Robbie was one of the first games to get hit by the ban hammer. Some speculate it's due to copyright issues from Arçelik. Apparently, the robot model was similar to the mascot of a Turkish household appliance company, and due to the popularity of Talking Friends, the game had to be taken down. Rest in peace, Robbie the Robot. You'll always be the best. B tier for Robboy. Talking Rex the Dinosaur? What the f? This was official material from Outfit 7? How did 5-year-old me not know this? Alright, Rex the dinosaur, eats steak and he fights. So cool, this one is going to the D tier. Get it? D for dinosaur. I'm killing myself. One thing that I noticed with these 2010 Talking Friends games is how the character models came from the same place, a website called TurboSquid. Even the original iconic Tom the Cat model came from TurboSquid. We can even see the same model being used in something completely different called Leo le Chat.
Je m'approche de cette autre oreille, très jolie d'ailleurs, et je recrie.
I love when even Santa's model from Talking Santa came from TurboSquid. Speaking of which, oh my god Santa, take your ass out of the damn screen! And that's how I was prohibited from playing Talking Santa at 4 years old. We'll touch on Santa later on. Next up, Basilai. Did anyone actually play this? Like, Talking Bacteria John. I can play this one since it's iOS exclusive and I hate happiness, but from the gameplay I've seen, I'm glad I didn't have an Apple product growing up because this is terrifying. I don't like the way it laughs, it looks terrible, and the fact that he's a bacteria is even more terrifying. Thank God Outfit 7's contract with the model expired and they had to remove the game in 2015. Good riddance. Talking Bacteria John goes to the E tier. Being exclusive to iOS hurts a bunch. Moving over to 2011, this is the year where Talking Friends started to pop it off. Starting with Talking Gina. Talking Gina is just Talking Baby Hippo, but on steroids. You can feed her carrots, but hold on, wait for it. You can also feed her ice cream, lemonade, and water. Holy shit! But what completely sold me on Talking Gina was the minigame where you had to clap her hands and feet to the rhythm. That was fun. A tier. Next up, Talking Lila the Fairy. Did anyone actually play this? Yeah, Talking Lila is just one of those filler games Outfit 7 created before they had an idea of what the cast of characters they wanted. Like, this was the original Talking Friends cast in 2011. If they made a Talking Smash Friends Bros game, this would be a weak ass roster. Oh yeah, back to Talking Lila. I couldn't play this one since I didn't find a working APK, so this time I need to go off YouTube videos, and from what I've seen, it's actually not that bad. The animations are beautiful, you can change the background, she has a killer voice, however, her voice is just wrong. And I think the uploader of this video also agrees.
Some dumbass fairy from 2011 Outfit 7 who sings la 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 and committing crime plus life and lastly having a girl kid voice and a grow up woman boy, what the hell?
I agree, also they were abusing her for 7 minutes straight. Probably the only person who played Talking Lila for more than 5 minutes. Talking Lila goes to the C tier. Now here's what you've been all waiting for. The most popular dog on the internet. I swear you can put his face on the thumbnail and get money back guaranteed. I made my own research. I think I'm ready.
Ben? Yes?
So Talking Ben needs absolutely no introduction. It's honestly very surprising how even 3-year-olds know who Talking Ben from the 2011 app is. Talking Ben is full of new stuff. He starts reading a newspaper that changed almost every update. He can drink, eat them beans, and cook something in the lab. And of course, you can call up Ben and he answers your questions.
Ben?
Fellas, right now, I think Talking Ben is our first test here. Talking Ben was the evolution point of these games. So many more features, animations, emotion, graphics. We no longer have those cheaply made wax Turbo Squid models. This is Outfit 7 at its peak, but how will this peak last? Well, certainly it's gonna last a while, because our next game is Talking Tom 2. This is it? Outfit 7's best game! Talking Tom 2 is just a definition of perfection. Improved Tom design, an interactive background, mystery button, Ben, and also a button that makes Tom bring a giant iPhone with the original Talking Tom playing. And when Tom talks, the original Tom repeats him and vice versa. I liked this feature when I was a kid. On the original Talking Tom, you could make Tom fart, but now you can make Ben fart at Tom. He got what he deserved. Later, Outfit 7 did something they never did before. Customization. You could now customize Tom's looks, the background, the accessories next to Tom, obviously with a price. It was awesome and made each experience more unique. Now that we have Ben and Tom, what do you think they did next?
Awesome.
Close enough. Talking Tom and Ben news, and folks, I have history with this one. My first ever video on YouTube was me doing random on this game 10 years ago. But hey, those videos are long lost now and don't expect me to mention them again. Back to the game. The main gimmick of Talking Tom and Ben news is horizontal gameplay, and upload videos on an in-game screen. This might be the single thing to sell me on Talking Tom and Ben news. You can put whatever video you want, the entire Oppenheimer movie? Actually, there's a limit. Slapping this bad boy into the S tier. Now, hold on a sec, I think I hear something in the kitchen. Oh my god, it's Talking Pierre!
Download Talking Pierre now for free.
You should do it. Talking Pierre is nothing short of a great time. This game introduces Pierre the parrot, which originally looked like this if you saw this on the App Store when the game came out. The game's plot is that Pierre lives in Tom's kitchen and he doesn't like him. Then proceeds to throw a pan, play guitar and turn on a blender. But sadly, things caught up to him and Pierre gets killed by a tomato in the streets of Chicago. Oh yeah, spoiler alert! This one is going straight to A tier. Now it's finally time to touch on Talking Santa, and I can confidently say that I was allowed to play this one at age 5. No ass flash in this one. Yeah, strangely they introduced one of the most popular characters on the Talking Tom franchise in the game of a retired character. Fun. Talking Santa meets Ginger is the same thing as Talking Santa, but now we have Tom's nephew, Ginger. The fun part of these Santa games is the postcards. This stuff was life-changing in 2011. The Talking Santa games go to B tier. We're finally in 2012, and I can't wait to see what Outfit 7 has in store for us this time. Who the fuck is that? So Tom's love letters is lame. I get that they tried to make a cutesy game to send postcards to your loved ones, but the main elements that you see on Talking Friends aren't present here. And since I love repetitive stuff, this one is going to the F tier. Hold on guys, I think Christmas sent me something. Well, I guess we have to take a look at Tom's Messenger. I've never touched Tom's Messenger in my life, but I remember those old commercials for the game that went pretty hard. Basically, Tom's Messenger is a Talking Tom / Angela game that its main gimmick is recording and sending videos of Tom saying stuff. Man, I thought it was just like the commercials. I want my house to be obliterated by Talking Tom cat. Say less. E tier. If Tom's love letters wasn't enough, they made Tom Loves Angela, an actual Talking Tom game with Tom and Angela. This game is actually pretty good and I played this one a lot back then, but why didn't they just release this one instead of love letters? Pretty good. Ginger can kill Tom, by the way. B tier. Speaking of Ginger, it only took 3 games for him to get his own game. Talking Ginger. What? He talks? This one actually takes place on the bathroom of all places. And you know what? I love this approach. In Talking Ginger there's a lot of stuff to do, actual stuff that incentivizes you to play, for a certain amount of time at least. All of the animations revolve around the hygiene routine. Take a shower, dry your hair, brush your teeth, and scroll toilet paper? Oh, okay. By doing these requirements, you unlock a puzzle piece that when you do it 8 more times, you unlock the full image. And how many puzzles does the game have? I wonder if someone actually managed to get all the pictures without spending a penny. When I go back to these old games, I always go back to Talking Ginger. It's a fun time playing this one, and because of that, I'm gonna place Talking Ginger in the S tier. The next 2 games are hard to rank since they only function properly with Talking Friends Superstar toys. That I don't have, but hey, I've got time. Let's nag about games I can't play and rank them unfairly. Talking Friends Superstars. These toys looked so good on the commercials and videos, Tom and Friends even went to Hollywood to promote them. I wanted these toys so much when they came out that I printed an image of one of the toys and slapped that bad boy on a piece of cardboard. You need to understand ordering stuff online from the US in 2012 in Portugal was kinda sketchy and new at the time. From what I understood, these toys interacted with the games, made jokes and some random stuff. There were a lot like this in this era. I remember the 2012 Furbies also had an interactive app that went along with them, and it went perfectly. And this app, Talking Friends Superstars, functioned with the toys. F tier. I'm sorry, but what am I supposed to say to an app that doesn't work? And this thing is just that. An app, a program to trigger something on a toy. It's not a game to do things. And I have almost the same feelings to I Want to Be Big. But with this one, you actually get something. The whole app is just a story of how Ginger wants to be big, classic nursery rhyme. You can use with or without the superstar toys, but it isn't the same without them. The app is just very boring, F. Alright, I gotta be careful with this one. This is by far the most problematic game of the series, and I better watch my words. If anything happens, it's your fault, Brookouts. Talking Angela is a perfectly fine game with a nice protagonist with nice mouth, great side characters, fun features, funny drinks, great customization. Everything is normal in Talking Angela. And that's where I lied. See, I said I should be careful with my words, but man, how many years have passed since you heard about the Talking Angela incident? It should be fine now to spill the beans, right? Okay, so around 2013, rumors spread through the internet, mostly from moms on Facebook, about someone spying on the player while playing Talking Angela, because you can make out the reflection of someone on Angela's eyes, and the fact that the main feature of Talking Angela was chatting with her encouraging the player to write stuff about them and Angela responding. Everyone believed it was spyware. Even PewDiePie made a video about Talking Angela back in the day. Also it appeared on the news, but PewDiePie is more important than the news. Even some cases appeared of children being missing after playing Talking Angela. What was happening?
It was all phony.
Yeah, this whole situation was just a big misunderstanding. Outfit 7 apologized, even if it wasn't their fault, and removed the chat feature and replaced it with the talk and repeat feature from the previous games. What a shame. I know the chat feature was a bit weird, but I preferred it over the new one. It made stuff more unique. Also, it was funny when you swear at Angela and she sent you your location. Good times. 8 years for Talking Angela. Angela's Valentine is the next step on the human devolution. Who asked for this? Another Tom's Love Letters. This game functions the same way as a letter, but now with the video running in the background. Now in defense of Angela's Valentine, these songs are a bop. I love these songs and I'm sure you love too, if you were addicted like me. This app was just made to promote the music, I think. There's no real reason for it to exist, but since they used great songs and I'm a nice person, I'm giving it an E tier. Another iOS exclusive. Does Outfit 7 just hate Android users? Talking Friends Cartoons is just a player for a Talking Friends cartoon. Who knew? It's weird actually. So Disney, of all companies, made a cartoon for Talking Friends in 2012 featuring Tom, Ben, Ginger, Angel, Gina and Pierre. I watched the entire thing when it came out and I liked it. However, where's Rex? This marked the end of some Talking Friends. Harry, Robbie, Rex, Baby Hippo, Lila, John, they're gone, and after the cartoon, Pierre and Gina were cut. What can I say, Outfit 7 is a monster that enjoys killing innocent animals. I'm surprised PETA never made a Talking Butcher parody. Okay, that sounds stupid. Talking Friends Cartoons is one of the most useless apps I've ever encountered. I don't need to own it to know that. F tier. Now we're entering the final game of what I like to call the Talking Friends era of Outfit 7. Later on the series would change its name to Talking Tom and Friends. What a mouthful. And here's the final game. Wait, what? Again? Our final game for the night is Ginger's Birthday, now known as Talking Ginger 2. Yup, It was a secret sequel all this time. Talking Ginger 2 has a similar structure to the first game, with doing some certain tasks to unlock puzzles, but now it happens in Ginger's birthday. And now you need to feed him bananas, do this for 5 minutes, and play this extremely addicting minigame which is better than the entire Talking Angela game lineage. You can even eat together with Ginger... Okay, what the hell is that? And I'm proud to put Talking Ginger 2 at the B tier. It was a fun one. And that was the end of the Talking Friends era. In late 2013, My Talking Tom released, and Outfit 7 created a new meta with the My games. My Talking Tom, My Talking Tom 2, My Talking Angela, My Talking Angela 2, My Talking Hank? Who the f is Hank? But these aren't that bad. Deep down, Outfit 7 never changed. They always released copies of the same game all the time in the beginning. And they still do it nowadays, just with a newer formula. It's been fun, but hey, I've got to go. Apparently I'm no longer allowed to live in the place where a crime scene happened. What crime? Spilling the beans about Talking Angela. I'm screwed. I hope they don't know I'm wanted. The Outfit 7 ninjas should be here right now.
Mainframe reaching to the sky. You've got a good-looking mainframe. I like the size of your mainframe. I have a query for your mainframe. Can I make an input output request? You've got a good-looking mainframe. I like the size of your mainframe. I have a query for your mainframe. Can I make an input output request?
How's it going here? Don't be like me. Never create an interdimensional remote. Look where it got me. It's been 2 years since the incident and well, I'm starving. But we can think about food later on. Let's continue on with the commercials. The third generation of consoles had one of the best collection of commercials I've ever seen yet, with ads focusing more on showing something that sticks with the viewer instead of showing actual gameplay. You may say it's a problem, but it was the 90s, nowadays we would never get an Australian man telling us that Nintendo is the best. But damn, the 4th generation is an intense era for commercials. I've tried to avoid the 4th generation commercial wars rabbit hole for long enough. I think it's finally time to talk about the time where Nintendo and Sega used commercials to compete with each other. Actually, I'll make this segment as brief as possible because I don't want it to take the entire talk and make it the focal point. Believe me, there's a lot of good commercials in this era, the Nintendo commercials aren't the only ones. Let's get this over with. Sega released the Sega Genesis in the US in 1989. Sega was ahead of the competition with a 16-bit system. The TurboGrafx 16 was already a thing, but come on. Do you seriously think someone knew what that was in America? But comparing Sega to Nintendo, Sega clearly had a superior console on their hands. For now. And Sega with their cocky ass released one of the most infamous commercials of all time.
Genesis does. Genesis does. Genesis does. Genesis does. What Nintendo?
Genesis does what Nintendo, they said. What a f***ing load of bullshit. Can't the Genesis run something that isn't Michael Jackson, American football or columns? Fuck, this reminds me how weak the Genesis launch titles were. This was a blow for Nintendo of America, but not long after, the Super Nintendo made its way to North America, and that flipped the competition. Nintendo never did a commercial towards Sega when the SNES launched. Just making a commercial about the console was enough. But Sega did the unthinkable. They launched Sonic the Hedgehog, the best game about the worst rodent in the world. The commercial made for Sonic the Hedgehog depicts a man comparing Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario World and how Sonic is faster and better than that old plumber. Who cares about Mario, am I right? It was bad. The commercial Sega made afterwards towards Nintendo sucked. The story has already been overtold dozens of times. Let's move on to the nitty-gritty. Let's start off with a Game Gear commercial attacking the Game Boy. Yeah, so, to promote their first portable console in the United States, Sega made a commercial directly attacking the Game Boy. The commercial shows some dork playing Game Boy and is not satisfied about it not having any colors, so he hits his head with a stick, cartoon style. Dude, I don't know what to say. Then they tell you that the Game Gear is better because it has colors? Look, Sega's lied before with that blast processing shtick, but this is just absurd. The Game Gear is ass and the Game Boy Color would release only a few years later, so pfft. On the topic of portable consoles, remember that time where they got Tobey Maguire to star on an Atari Lynx commercial? That was kinda ridiculous, but sure. One of my favorite commercials of this era, the Super Mario RPG Japanese commercial. Yeah, Piranha Plant sang prior to Mario Wonder and whatever that was. It's a good ad, shame that they never remade a new one for the 2023 remake, though I really enjoyed the fan remix of this one. The Legend of Zelda is pretty good, but I wish they could just dance. A commercial for A Link to the Past from Japan. This one is funny, I just wonder where that Canon puppet is now. Many old commercials like this sometimes used puppets or animatronics, but most of them are hard to track down where they currently reside. Let's just hope they weren't perished. Speaking of Zelda and puppets, take a look at this one for Link's Awakening on the Game Boy. This is literally the worst ad I've ever seen. Jokes aside, better than that one Game Gear commercial, even if they don't share any similarities. Mortal Kombat has been through a lot over the years. It contributed to the birth of the rating system, had a midlife crisis for a while, released Mortal Kombat vs DC, and Johnny Cage. The first Mortal Kombat was something special when it first came out. Even better was when it made its way to home consoles. The commercial announcing the launch of MK to the SNES and Genesis are engraved in everyone's minds. It's one of the most iconic ads of all time. I just can't get over the fact that they used the Mortal Kombat scream from the main theme in a kid. They later remade this one for Mortal Kombat 1 in 2023, and it's a solid remake. But when Mortal Kombat 2 released, one of the best commercials that has ever graced TV aired for the first time. The Mortal Kombat 2 commercial is an absolute masterpiece. No joke, they went overboard with this one. It's insanely good. Probably my favorite commercial of this whole generation. This is just a funny one that I needed to mention. A Japanese commercial for the game Dragon Ball Z Super Gokuden 2, showing Frieza, Ginyu and Vegeta playing SNES. Yeah, they be here playing Shaq Fu after blowing up a planet and killing each other. Love to see it. Sonic the Roadhog Hedgehog has received many peculiar ads during this gen. The first we're gonna take a look from Edge Boy here is from Sonic 2's US campaign, which is kinda odd. So basically, they incentivize everyone to buy Sonic 2 because it's the best thing of all time. It does absolutely everything. I mean, the movie was better, but sure. The Sonic and Knuckles ad is an odd one too. So a couple of elves sold the idea of Sonic and Knuckles to Santa, but he disapproved it. But Sega came along and completely bought the idea and made a game off of it.
It's revolutionary!
You just laughed at us. So we sold the whole thing to Sega?
Who's laughing now?
Okay, seems accurate. This one right here isn't anything spectacular, but I need to include at least something from my country. A Toys R Us commercial from the mid-90s promoting Sonic 1, a Mega Drive, and a Disney Magic Ball? Does it tell me when the next Disney movie is coming out? Yeah, speaking of Portuguese commercials, let's see what more commercials came from my country. We didn't get anything crazy like the Mortal Kombat commercials or the Mario RPG commercial, but we got some decent ads. You got a ton of Mega Drive commercials in Portugal, since Sega reigned supreme, and those commercials had that radical and extreme feel that Sega went in the US, but just toned down a bit. Now Nintendo on the other hand, not many are in the internet, but we have a Super Game Boy and a Donkey Kong Country commercial. This one was the generation where video games got some sort of popularity in Portugal, but believe me, in the 5th generation it gets even bigger. With Super Mario Kart, I'm gonna show you the duology of commercials in the US. Over in America, we had this commercial for Super Mario Kart.
Mix it up for the big boys. See Bowser in his big foot-dropping truck. See Yoshi's go-kart really go. Mushrooms, banana peels, turtle shells. Dynamite. Check your rear view and make them eat dust.
And still, in the same place, we got this gorgeously made animated commercial of Super Mario Kart. Like, Nintendo was so unsure which commercial they would use, so they released both. Honestly, I respect that. Moving over to India, of all places, Sega made one of the weirdest commercials I've ever seen. This kid just gets blasted with Sega garbage by Sonic. I love it. A while ago I was talking about the Super Mario RPG and Mortal Kombat 2 commercials and how those are one of the best commercials I've ever seen, But this one for Final Fantasy IV takes the cake. This is the best thing I've seen today. It single-handedly convinced me to pick up an ostrich.
It's a chocobo, bitches.
We went from cute to simply terrifying. You think of Yoshi's Island, you think of cute names, sus mountains, dead jokes about taxes. But this commercial just doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do with Yoshi. My guy just eats everything in sight and explodes all of a sudden.
Is there any commercial worse than this?
New Kirby Superstar, only on SNES. Can your system handle it?
Oh, not really.
Kirby Superstar is one of the best Kirby games I've ever played. It's a personal favorite, I love it to death and it's very nostalgic. But the commercial they did for it is hideous. Someone needs to be studied at Nintendo. I smell someone with a not kink. It's ass, but the Yoshi's Island one is by far the worst. This one is one of my favorites from their rivalry ads. This one is for Street Fighter 2 on the Genesis. I love how Blanka's hand just pops up from the box and smashes Mortal Kombat instantly. I hated this ad at age 7, since I was a big Mortal Kombat fanboy. I can't say the same to me nowadays.
Look how the tides have turned.
Now to send off the commercials from the 4th generation, we have an ad that genuinely terrified me when I was a kid, and it still kinda terrifies me to this day. This is an American ad for the Sega CD. It made its way to many other countries, including not Portugal. Why is it so scary? Well, the ad is similar to the Indian one we took a look earlier, but this one it's a guy talking about the Sega CD, which makes it even worse. I hate that junction of plastic and technology. Oh, the commercial also has a Nintendo joke. Very clever. But the actual frame that scared me was this one. It's the very final frame of the commercial and catches you off guard. Like, what did the Sega CD do to his face? This singular piece of advertisement from the 90s of a failed product took many nights of sleep to kid me, and I weirdly love it for it. I won't elaborate, we're done here. From the first 4 generations we've taken a look at, the 4th gen of commercials is by far the best one. Seriously, the 5th to 9th generation still made some pretty good commercials, but the 4th generation is the one where I always come back to, with the greatest ads and creativity. It might be my favorite gen in terms of commercials, to be honest, but we have to wait and see.
This was a wonderful yap sesh, but it didn't beat my hunger. And I'm not even going to try to eat an ostrich. Well, at least I'm on a good void. Very cozy around here, I must say. Gotta be honest, not much change from being in the void to inside the TV. It feels the same around here. How's it going, Gon here? I'm feeling jaunty today. Really, I don't want nothing more than to get up and play the Lord of the Rings column and not complain. I'm joyous. But since I don't know what I'm gonna do today, let's see what the future portal right here has to say. Oh my god, I didn't know playing Gollum had so many consequences. Let's play Sonic CD instead.
Not again, it's the 3rd time already, get out, I hate you. You were expecting Sonic 3, but nope. Sonic CD released prior to that one, and since it's kind of a mainline Sonic game and not a spin-off, we've gotta talk about this one first. So the Sega CD add-on for the Sega Genesis released in 1991, one of Sega's biggest flops. Add-ons just aren't the way to go. CD was the next big thing, but Sega just didn't get it. But hey, when a new Sega system launches, there's bound to be a new Sonic game, and the Sega CD was no different. The original idea was to port Sonic 1 to the Sega CD with some enhancements, but Sega said nope, and rightfully so. While Sega of America was developing Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Sega Genesis, Sega of Japan was working on a new Sonic game for the Sega CD, and what was it called? What? Oh, CD Sonic was the name during development, and only during development. Thank God.
I sure hope Sega doesn't switch the names around and call it a day. That's exactly what they did.
Sonic CD is the dumbest name I've heard all day. It's the same as calling God of War Ragnarok God of War Blu-ray. It's tragic. It's normal here to take a look at the development and the content of every game we talk about, and Sonic CD has some interesting things that never made it to the full game. Here's some unused sprites. Yes, Sonic is hanging. I don't know why, but he is. There was supposed to be a special ability that gave Sonic every power-up in the game. Nice. The game released in 1993 on the Sega CD and 2 years later on PC, and decades later, the 7th generation and mobile ports. And also Sonic Gems collection. Fun fact, This is a pretty good release, but lacks Sega Sonic the Hedgehog arcade game. Sonic CD was met with mixed reactions. Weird that we got this kind of game after Sonic 2. This feels like the predecessor of that game. Sonic CD starts off with Palm Tree Panic. If that name doesn't say anything, then I don't know what does. This stage is whack. It has some weird animations and music, and speaking of which, oh my god, they cooked with this soundtrack. The soundtrack had two variants actually, the Japanese and US versions, but I'll always go with the original Japanese version. Much better. As I was saying, this stage is was that 3D graphics on my Sonic game? Holy shit! Sonic CD also introduced one of the oddest mechanics I've ever seen. I'm surprised how this even made it to the final product, and that's the time traveling mechanic. By hitting this pole that says future or past, you get transported into the future or past depending on where it lands. If you go to the past, you need to destroy Robotnik's machine. By doing that, you get the good feature of the stage. If not, well, you get pollution. Getting teleported into those areas are difficult though. You need to keep up with a certain amount of speed for like 5 seconds, and it's hard when there's obstacles everywhere. I didn't even try to save the stages afterwards, it just gets boring. Sonic is just not meant for exploration. Yeah, a curious fun fact I forgot to mention, Toei Animation of all companies made the intro cutscene for Sonic CD, but that smooth animation was practically useless since the finished product that we saw in the Sega CD version was a very pixelated slideshow. Pretty good animation nonetheless. There are 7 stages plus their future/past variants, and they're all pretty good and colorful, the best looking stages so far. Leaving a little shout out to Stardust Speedway, one of the greatest of all time. Come on, it's just like Music Park from Mario Kart. I love these kind of levels where they consist of just instruments. And speaking of Stardust Speedway, the battle against Metal Sonic takes place here. Metal Sonic is basically an improved version of Robot Sonic from Sonic 2, with a cooler design. He's become a series icon and a fan favorite over the years. Oh yeah, Amy Rose is here too. Sonic CD introduced so much stuff, man. It's weird they introduced more new characters than the mainline Sonic games we've taken a look so far. To think that Sonic's equivalent of Peach came from a Sega CD game is very disgusting. Back to the main game. The game gets lame after a while, and then there's the final level which is very hard. It's a hard journey for an easy ass boss, the final boss as easy as a mid-game Robotnik encounter in Sonic 1. Honestly, after finishing Sonic CD, I didn't feel complete. It's not because I didn't get all the Chaos Emeralds. Wait a minute. It is because I didn't get all the Chaos Emeralds.
Let's do this one more time. Let's get all the Chaos Emeralds.
I don't like Sonic CD. Sonic CD was the very first 2D Sonic game I've ever played and I'm very nostalgic for it. That's a fact. But it is incredibly weak compared to its predecessors. So many mechanics were introduced. But for what? Sonic is not built for exploration. Those future pass signs don't mean nothing to me when I'm all about the speed. Now, to defend Sonic CD, it did give us a very cool opening and Amy Rose and Metal Sonic, and that's solid I guess. Sonic CD is not one of my favorites, but if you like it, praise it I guess. I don't know what you Sonic CD fans do for a living.
I'm not a fan of Sonic CD, simple as that. Sorry if this review wasn't as long as my previous talks, but I just don't have much to say about Sonic CD. Well, now we know what's coming next. I can't wait to talk about this one and Knuckles, but let's leave it for another time. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna binge some Dragon Ball for the rest of the day. See ya.
How's gone here? I'm depressed. And no, this is not a lost episode creepypasta type of deal, it's not Halloween. What better way to cure my depression than to look at the short lifespan of our favorite consoles? Wait, that doesn't sound right. Where there's consoles that last decades, there's consoles that don't last a year. Being a console is the worst thing imaginable. You have the average lifespan of 8 years and there's a chance you run Bloodbath for the 360. Some consoles just live more than others, but there's some that don't make it out of preschool. Here's 11 consoles that lived jack shit and see if putting them down early was justified. The ColecoVision was one of the main competitors of the Atari 2600, and it wasn't particularly one of my favorites. I don't know, there's no noteworthy games on the ColecoVision and what even is this supposed to be? 1940s phone looking ass, the ColecoVision wasn't the best looker. This thing was launched in 1982, and it only lasted till 1985 in the market. I'm surprised it lasted that long. 1983 and 84 were arguably the worst years for gaming. It was a wasteland. But the ColecoVision survived all of that? The console ended up selling 6 million copies, which isn't bad at all for the 80s. The ColecoVision had potential, it just happened to release in the worst time for the industry. The start of Sega's journey on the home console market was a tough one. The SG-1000 was Sega's first home console, and it wasn't that big of a success. The console had worse graphics than the Famicom, the controllers looked like and it never made it outside Japan. Sega was so desperate for this thing to succeed that they made the SG-1000 II and Mark III, which did nothing except turn the console into a computer. The SG-1000 flopped hard. The original model lasted only a year from 1983 to 84, and the two from 84 to 85. In the end, it's estimated that the console sold around 2 million copies, which is fine. The Master System released only a few years later, and we all know how that went. Now here's an obscure one that I'm almost certain you don't have. Sure, you may have the Virtual Boy, but do you have the Commodore 64 game system? I'll come up with an answer in 29 years. A home console version of the Commodore 64. Was that really necessary? Apparently not, since the thing only sold 20,000 units. Look at this thing. They ditched the keyboard for an Atari-S controller and only released 28 games. The console didn't even last a year. It launched and went extinct in 1990, and, as expected, it's rare and very expensive online. But hey, if you really want to play Miss History in the Making for the C64 game system, the $3,000 aisle is this way. Wanna talk obscure? Bandai's Playdia. This is such a fun and colorful console. The first time I saw an image of this thing, I thought it was a kid's toy, and the fact that the controller is a part of the console like the Intellivision is very charming. Except the fact that it's wireless now, which is a plus in my book. It launched in 1994 exclusively in Japan, and because of that, most of the games available are licensed games from Japanese properties. Gundam, Dragon Ball Z, Hello Kitty, Ultraman. There's 4 Sailor Moon games. Not only do I need to buy these 4 games, but also a Playdia, and you know what that means? Guess the Oh. Theoretically speaking, I'm not missing much. These are all trivia and educational games. Why are these on the Playdia? Simple, this console is nothing more than a Japanese CDI, and after saying those words, I should end this segment right here. Virtual Boy, Virtual Boy, Virtual Man. Everyone knows how this is one of Nintendo's biggest flops. With the main gimmick of virtual reality, the Virtual Boy was way ahead of its time. The idea was interesting, but the execution was terrible. But what are we supposed to do? It was the mid-90s, Nintendo should have just shelved the idea and bring it back with the Nintendo One. Sad we didn't get that. Anyways, back to the Virtual Boy. The thing was a mess and barely made it a year alive. We'll be back with more Virtual Boy in the afterlife. I hate the 32X, man. This isn't necessarily a console, but an add-on for the Sega Genesis, and that is terrible. The 32X didn't even last a year. How sick is that? How can this thing be so bad that Sega itself knows it sucks? I mean, what do we have here? Knuckles Chaotix? That's pretty good, actually. I know the 360 has some fans, but I'm not one of them. 600k units sold, and that's more than I expected. 500,000 people gave a shot on the 32X. That's very impressive for the add-on it was. We just talked about Sega, but I swear this is the last time I talk about Sega. Forever. If this is really the end, might as well talk about the Dreamcast for one last time. I already did a deep dive, but this one is for the Dream believers everywhere. The Dreamcast was Sega's last home consoles, and they went hard for this one. Dreamcast is my favorite console name. Going with the white in contrast from previous consoles is just interesting, and the games were just marvelous. But you just had to kill it. When the PS2 came along, Sony murdered the Dreamcast. It wasn't Sega, Sony literally demolished the Dreamcast in all cylinders. So, in 2001, 3 years after its launch, the Dreamcast was discontinued. Games were still being made in Japan till 2007, but the official death date worldwide was 2001. This console was the best, and hey, 9.13 million units is nothing to scoff at. The Dreamcast was the best. Now the N-Gage on the other hand. Gotta be honest, that was just an attempt for a smooth transition, because I love the N-Gage. This was a hybrid console slash phone made by Nokia in 2003, and oh boy was this console unique. It doubled as a phone and a Call of Duty gaming machine, and the internet, and a Buddy Holly playing machine. The N-Gage was one of the most powerful portable consoles of the era, and is underappreciated. Sonic N, Splinter Cell, Rayman 3, Tomb Raider, Call of Duty. This thing, man, so much good stuff. But in 2007, the Nokia N-Gage was no more. And we're not done with portable consoles because there's the Gizmondo. The Gizmondo is such an odd ball of a console. Just look at it, if you still have one, the rubber shell is most likely melted at this point. I've heard this is not very good. The funniest thing about the Gizmondo is that the moment the console launched, it died. How big of an insult do you have to be for your desk to be the biggest joke about you? So yeah, the launch titles double as final titles since no other game was released after March 19th, 2007. But hey, you could still find one still early 2006, but most people didn't care since it sold around 25,000 units, which is not very good. We're getting into some obscure shit right here. Do you know about the Mattel Hyperscan? I'll come up with an answer in 60 seconds. This odd bugger of a console was one of Mattel's arrays on the console market after the Intellivision, and it wasn't a successful one. It launched in 2006 and was discontinued as early as 2007, and the best-selling game was X-Men. Of all games, a licensed game was the best-selling game, but it makes sense when you discover that the game came with every console. It was like the Wii Sports of this console. It sold around 30,000 units and is considered by many as one of the worst game consoles of all time. That can't be good. The last console we have today is a favorite of many people out there, the Nintendo Wii U. The Wii U was one of Nintendo's recent failures. That's what many people say, and they're absolutely right. Yeah, it sold 13 million copies, which is way more than any console I mentioned today, but for Nintendo standards, it was a massive downgrade from the Wii. It may have introduced weird quirks, but it had pretty good games, and Xenoblade Chronicles X, the game Nintendo doesn't want to re-release for the Switch. It may have lasted 5 years on the market, but Nintendo pulled the trigger way earlier for this console. The PS4 and Xbox One were still going on till 2020, but Nintendo desperately wanted to release a Switch in 2017. And hey, if they released this alongside the PS5 and Series X, things could have gotten worse. Anyways, rest in peace Wii U. What did we learn today? Never trust video game companies with your favorite consoles. They may kill it after 2 years or don't even release it. But I already talked about this one months ago. You know what to do next. Now, was it worth it for putting them down early? Yeah, they should have done it way earlier. Are we seriously gonna pretend that the Mattel Hyperscan deserved one more year in the market? Hell no! That console didn't deserve anything at all.
Target acquired.
Boo-hoo, Gizmondo fans! Don't you know the difference between a rock and a hard place? What the f-
I take it you're Goncalus.
Nope, I'm a Combat Jagger's machine. Oh, so I don't get to play Stellar Blade. Alright.
Next time, don't mess with the virgins. Yes. Mission complete. Goncalus is dead. Don't mess with the virgins. Yes. Mission complete. Goncalus is dead.
How's it going? Gone here. I'm officially dead as of yesterday. Finally, my whole life led me to this very moment.
How's it going, Gon? Aaron here.
Who the f*** are you?
Oh, you just met my former coworker. He killed you.
He got me.
So basically, I don't have a physical body anymore, so I can't kidnap you. But I can tell you that you're gonna die very soon.
Second time's the charm, I guess.
Yeah, my former boss, which is the new big boss of the Virgin Busters who wants to get revenge on what he did a few months ago and all that stuff.
That sounds lovely, but do you want to hear something sweet? Halo. I prefer stale bread. Halo 3 was just what the Xbox 360 needed for its first few years. A perfect multiplayer mode and an amazing experience of a campaign, Halo 3 is the definitive Halo game. But after Bungie left the Halo series, we were left in the dark for a while. The future of the Halo series seemed bleak. Till 2009, Bungie just barfed Halo 3 ODST 2 years later. People loved it and then officially left. I'll definitely play Halo 3 ODST, but for now, let's skip it because I really need to talk about Halo 4. That people can't wait, you know. But yeah, after ODST, this seemed like the end of the Halo series. 1 year later we got Halo Reach made by a new developer, 343 Industries. Looks like we're skipping this one as well. 343 Industries was a new developer that was created by Microsoft especially for future Halo games. And after Bungie, 343 picked up the series and started a new trilogy. 343's first full game on the Halo series was Halo Reach, and in 2011 they made Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, a remake of the original Halo on the Xbox. And this remake is pretty good, and I'll always love the feature to switch the graphics from the 360 to original Xbox. I want to believe 343 did this just to piss off Bungie fanboys. Back to the mainline games. After Halo Reach, there were talks of a possible reboot of the series or a sequel to Halo 3, and the answer was the latter. Halo 4 was first announced at E3 2011 with a pretty insane trailer. This had minds blown in 2011. The wait from Halo 4 was so long from 2007 to the 2011 reveal. This was unreal. But after the ending of Halo 3, some people got a bad taste in their mouths. Like, I get it, Halo 3 had a pretty good ending, but I wouldn't say it's the best ending for the franchise. So having another entry is not that bad, but on the other hand, I don't know what the f I'm talking about. Halo 4's launch was just like any other Halo game, at midnight, but this one was different. GameStop made a whole ass campaign for it. Everyone was there. I even wonder if David Blatt was there. Halo launches were big back in the day. Halo 4 launched November 2012 and it was met with mixed reviews. Some people liked the new direction the series was taking and some thought it was a lazy cash grab. Now me, I just stood in the corner eating toothpaste. But Halo 4 is a magnificent game and in some aspects better than its predecessors. Spoilers ahead for newcomers. I usually don't talk about Halo lore, but I'll make an exception this time. Call this a newbie's description of Halo events, because this is gonna suck. Alright, so 5 years after the war against the Covenant from Halo 3, Master Chief returns from a cryogenic sleep and beats the shit out of the Prometheans. So, stuff happens and Chief awakens the Didact, basically the most powerful Promethean, and he wants to surpass Master Chief and become Pokemon Master. Oh, it actually says that. Master Chief loses and later he encounters the Librarian, Didact's wife. Some shenanigans about the past are revealed, but hey, no time for that, Didact recovered the Composer. Oh! Also Cortana goes insane and that's not good. Chief and Cortana follow Didact to his ship before he attacks Earth, but Chief is proven inferior to him. So Cortana, with her final efforts, chains Didact to the bridge, and that gives time for Master Chief to implant a grenade to his body and blow this whole place down. But then again, Cortana was dying, so to save Master Chief, she sacrifices herself to teleport him to a safe place. They share their last moments together and then boom, Cortana's dead. I sure hope they don't f*** her death in the future. I mean, the story was good, I quite liked it. Not as good as the first games, sure, but not a bad first shot made by 343. Now for the gameplay, it's Halo. Many people complained about the enemies being more obnoxious and harder to kill, but I gotta be honest, this whole game was a breeze. I just have fast hands, you know.
They don't look very fast to me.
What do you mean? I can sell all my chairs in 5 seconds, watch.
But how can you contract sitting disease?
Too late.
The visuals for this game were good and I don't care what anybody says. Master Chief's new armor was a bit odd at first, but I started to like it in no time. This is a pretty solid design and I wouldn't surprise me if they changed it again in Halo 5. Now I'm scared to talk about that one, but let's leave it for next time when I'm not dead. Halo 4 was a pretty good game. Sure, it had some lows and I get why many people were scared, but 343's first rodeo wasn't bad at all. Heck, after that one, I can't wait to see what they do next. Turn back and never return.
Well, that was a waste of an afternoon.
Yeah, I wasn't actually victimized. I'm not actually dead.
Good, but the statement still stands. The remaining Virgin Busters are probably gonna get you if you don't do anything.
What do you propose? Dye my hair purple and not exist?
Get your hair first, dummy, then we can talk about colors.
Colors are just a theory, okay? They don't exist.
Train for the war, I guess. It's a bit early, but sure, do something.
Fine. How's it going, Gone here? Imagine buying the same game multiple times. I may have won the lottery. I'm a simple man, I want to play the same game over and over again on different systems. Be it on PC, Switch, PS2, PSP, Mega Drive. Just every console. Except the GBA, I don't see myself buying the same game for the 14th time on the GBA. Well, that is depressing. Video game re-releases practically exist since the very beginning. The concept of taking a previous title from an older console and put it to the newest hardware is a neat idea. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but when a good re-release comes out, it's always a good feeling. But not The Last of Us. Don't tell me these look different. The PS5 version is more of a re-release than a remaster. But now, let's go back to a time where Nintendo released a series of classic re-releases for the Game Boy Advance. The year was 2001, one of the weirdest years of all time. The year where we got Kinder Joy. I sure love some Kinder Joy. But least importantly, we had the GameCube and GBA released in Japan. And in December of that same year, Nintendo launched the Game Boy e-reader for Game Boy Advance. The e-reader served as an accessory to scan cards that you would generally find at game stores, to receive some extra content and items in games or sometimes full-ass games. And that's where we got a ton of NES games on little cards. It was a good reward for the poor people who bought an e-reader. Some games like Metroid Prime and Animal Crossing on the GameCube had NES games playable in-game, but that was lame. We wanted the games portably, even if they were 20 years old at this point. Since Nintendo is not dumb, they released something called Classic NES Series for the Game Boy Advance in 2004. Through the course of 1 year, from 2004 to 2005, Nintendo released 12 games from the NES, and these include Donkey Kong, Dr. Mario, Excitebike, Ice Climber, Metroid, god I love that game, Zelda 1, Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, and Super Mario Bros. And the other 4 were third-party games like Bomberman, Castlevania, Pac-Man, and Xevious. These look cool. The boxes were clearly inspired on the black box template used on the NES, and the cartridges were a lighter grey, the same tone as the NES cartridges. With the release of the games, Nintendo also released a special edition for the GBA based on the NES and Famicom. And these look very cool, especially the NES one. It mixes the controller and console design of the NES, and it fits. Later we also got the Famicom Special Edition for the Game Boy Micro this time, and this one clearly takes the cake. One of the best looking micros out there. The classic NES series was one of the most successful series during the GBA's lifespan, but do these 20-year-old games hold up and look better on the GBA than the NES? Super Mario Bros. Is a pretty simple game, just make your way through the level and raise the flagpole in the end. So for the Game Boy Advance port, the game was stretched to fit the whole screen and they removed some pixels to make the thing work, which resulted in this. Not to mention the audio was compressed for the console and it sounds like you would expect. Overall, it's a solid port of Super Mario Bros, but for the Game Boy Advance, I would recommend Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, which has some extra content and the entirety of the lost levels. Donkey Kong received a fine port on the GBA, ignoring the sprite crunch and wonkiness. It's classic Donkey Kong, nothing more, nothing less. Pac-Man on the NES is not a good version of Pac-Man, and the GBA version is not much better. Look at these sprites, man, they're clipping through the maze. If you want to play Pac-Man, there's tons of versions that have come out in recent years, but avoid this one at all cost. I didn't play it, but I found this old IGN gameplay video of it, full of bot comments talking about the game way better than Pac-Man? A game better than the 54th best game of all time? Which one of the 53 is it? Oh, so it's an inferior bootleg called Pac Hero. Good god. Dr. Mario is a series I rarely talk about. A puzzle game featuring Mario as a doctor is certainly one of the things of all time. Anyways, I've played the NES and N64 entries, and this re-release is just the NES version, but portable. Same with most of these, like Excitebike and Xevious. Good games, but exactly the same as the original. No changes whatsoever. Zelda 1 and Link's Adventure are such a great addition to this series. Unlike Super Mario Bros, we never got a port of Zelda 1 on the Game Boy, and that game is such a perfect fit for a portable console, so this was a long time coming. Sometimes the sprites look silly during the gameplay, but a good way to play Zelda 1 and 2. Bomberman was also a part of the classic NES series, and it's the same as the original, except they removed multiplayer mode, which doesn't make any sense. The Game Boy Advance had multiplayer games, why couldn't this one? Well, at least we had Bomberman Tournament for the multiplayer. But still, it actually surprises me that they picked Ice Climber of all games for the classic NES series. This was mostly added because of Ice Climber's addition to Super Smash Bros. Melee, because who the hell thinks of Ice Climber as one of the 12 games to represent the NES? It's a great game, but an odd inclusion of an arguably small series of re-releases. I'm gonna say it, Metroid was a pointless addition for this series. Metroid 1 is my all-time favorite NES game, but we already had Metroid Zero Mission, a remake of the original Metroid on the Game Boy Advance. But if you really wanted to play the original, the full game was unlockable in Metroid Prime on the GameCube, so it didn't lack any modern re-release. Great game, but I don't see any reason why you wouldn't pick the remake. The 12th and final game from the classic NES series was Castlevania. Castlevania is another one where I'm genuinely surprised that Nintendo picked a re-release, but I'm glad they did. If they didn't, we would probably get Top Gun instead. Overall, pretty good lineup, but damn, Japan got more games. In Japan, they received 18 more games than the rest of the world. Adventure Island, Balloon Fight, Clu Clu Land, Dig Dug, which would have been great if it released internationally. Famicom Detective Club 1 and 2, Gambare Goemon, Mappy, the original Mario Bros, SD Gundam World, Shin Onigashima, Star Soldier, Super Mario Bros 2 The Lost Levels, The Mysterious Murasame Castle, Twinbee, and Wrecking Crew. I never played majority of these games, but I have to ask, why didn't Nintendo port Balloon Fight, Clu Clu Land, Dig Dug, Wrecking Crew, and Twinbee? I think these would have been perfect additions to one of the best series of the Game Boy Advance. Have you looked at the boxes they got in Japan? These look so cool. They're exact replicas of the original Famicom boxes, and they're a bit smaller this time. Excellent series of boxes to collect if you love wasting space. The classic NES series was no doubt one of the coolest things Nintendo had ever done. You have to keep in mind this was before Virtual Console and the Wii. So the fact that we could buy only the games we wanted instead of a retro compilation on the Game Boy Advance was sweet. Except it was $20 for game? Yeah, you f***ed up, Nintendo.
But don't take my word for it, just listen to all the classic NES series fans everywhere. Where's classic NES series 2 on Nintendo Switch, Nintendo? We are starving!
How's going gone here? Summer's almost here. And you know what that means. And, most importantly, gaming companies reunite for a little thing called E3. It's been 2 years since the last E3, but it seems like we might be back, guys. Honestly, I'm not surprised E3 is dead. With everything going digital and after some companies just quitting E3 altogether in 2023, the end was just a matter of time. But still, without E3, there's a certain void in the industry. And that's where our buddy Jeff Keighley comes into the picture. Again! Like last year, let's take a look at not only Summer Game Fest, but some other presentations that occurred this month, and these include the Summer Game Fest itself, the Xbox Showcase, Ubisoft Forward, and the Nintendo Direct, with some random ones thrown in the middle. I am not talking about that state of play, man. It ashamed me as a PS5 owner and Astrobot. I literally have nothing left except Astrobot. Can't wait to play it. Summer Game Fest took place in YouTube Theater in Los Angeles this year, and these announcements were alright. The show started off with Jeff talking about the recent layoffs that happened recently on the gaming industry, but then it transitioned to talk about sales and how the industry is changing? What? If you want to talk about it, talk with some decency. Like, come on. Alright, our first announcement was LEGO Horizon Adventures? Sure, if we have LEGO Fortnite and LEGO Rock Band, I don't mind it. This is such a weird combo, who would have thought these two would clash? And it's coming to Switch? I'm not even gonna joke this time around. This is just bizarre. Coming to PC is one thing, but Switch? I thought I'd never see the day. Exclusives are dying. I don't even care for Horizon, but Harry Potter? Even less. Star Wars Outlaws, this is the second year in a row we talk about this one, and hopefully, never again. This one just doesn't appeal to me. Heck, it doesn't even appeal to Star Wars fans. So what's the point in that? Finally, some good shit. Sid Meier's Civilization 7. This right here looks very good. Looking forward for this one. Metaphor ReFantasio is nothing new. It was already announced last year, but man, the recent stuff they shown about this game is sure awesome. This game looks beautiful. Atlus is definitely cooking something great here. And as a Persona fan, I see this as an absolute win. Metaphor ReFantasio is an easy buy for me. What? Street Fighter 6 DLC? I thought they were showing this at EVO. Is that Terry Bogard from Smash Bros? Mai, the cut stage character from Smash Bros? Alina? From Street Fighter 3? Nice pick. But wait, who's that? Yeah, this is an instant buy. They just casually revealed that the main bad guy from Street Fighter is alive and he releases in just a couple of days. What? the f***? Capcom is cooking, and I can't wait to see what they have more to show. Is Evo gonna have announcements? Cause a whole wave of DLC for Street Fighter 6 and the new Fatal Fury were just announced. Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Now, I'm not an SNK guy and I've never played any Fatal Fury game. Yes, it's true, I'm a sucker. But I know that Fatal Fury fans are going crazy after these announcements. I'm not a fan of Blumhouse Studios and their movies, but the new game studio, and with decent looking games? That's cool. A new Power Rangers game on the style of Shredder's Revenge? That's not what I expected, but sure, looks solid. This one was no doubt the best announcement during the show. A Killer Bean video game. It's just like the movie. I can now play the movie. Oh man, the hype! The hype is real! Then we were shown a teaser for the new Among Us animated series with the best cast of all time, and Sonic X Shadow Generations. I don't care. Look, Shadow with Wings is cool, but I need to see more of this game if I'm giving it a shot. Dune Awakening looks cool and also presents an awesome concept. What if the main character was never born? But in all honesty, it looks good, and I can't wait to see more of this game. Then it finally came the moment. The man himself, Sam Lake, went on stage and announced a 3-chapter DLC for Alan Wake 2, Night Springs. You went ahead and did it. Sam Lake is the indisputable GOAT of gaming. Is anyone better than Sam Lake? Anyone? How many years have been since Skate 4 was first announced and we're still at the pre-alpha state? What is EA doing? I just hope it's a great game, but on the other hand, it's hard to follow up the banger that is Skate 3. But let's see what happens. No Fortnite this time around, but Supercell dropped a pretty fun ad for the new Squad Busters game. Nice. We're down to our final 2 announcements. Please be Monster Hunter Wilds and the new and iconic Phantom Blade Zero? Yay! We've seen Monster Hunter dozens of times before, but can we blame them? This looks great and I'm not a Monster Hunter fan at all. Maybe I'll give Monster Hunter Wilds a shot when it releases.
You definitely should. Amazing but Persona.
Yes, it's a phase. Pardon. In general, this was a solid presentation. Not many crazy announcements, just some pretty good ones. Nothing that breaks the roof, you know. And a lot of random ass stuff we never wished for, but I just decided to skip that and not mention them. Summer Game Fest 2024 gets a 3 out of 5 on the Virgin scale. That was a Summer Game Fest. Nothing wrong with that. On June 9th, it was time for Xbox to hold their annual Xbox Showcase, following with the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 overview. And I gotta say, for a $70 game from the Black Ops series, this looks like ass. Anyways, Xbox opened up the showcase with the unimaginable. A new Doom game. Doom the Dark Ages is gonna be a prequel from Doom 2016, and it looks f***ing awesome. It's Doom. It's hard to f*** it up. It's gonna be awesome. Then we received new trailers for State of Decay 3, a new Dragon Age game, a Fallout 76 update, and... Starfield? It genuinely surprises me how Bethesda is still supporting and releasing new expansions despite the criticism Starfield got. I would have given up at this point. It was also announced an interesting new IP from Xbox. Expedition 33 looks like it's gonna be a turn-based RPG and shares tons of elements from games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. And the story from the trailer? It looks good. I gotta try this one when it releases. A new trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta was also unveiled with some cutscenes and gameplay. Finally, the actual game! But in all seriousness, this looks fantastic. I just hope Konami can emulate Kojima's vision from the original Snake Eater. Having a new Solid game without Kojima's name is definitely a shame, but let's see if it can live up to its predecessor. Whoa, slow down there, Flintlock game. I've got big letter for ya, please show some respect. Perfect Dark? The Perfect Dark from the N64? That Perfect Dark? This was not expected by anyone, but it happened. Perfect Dark is back after Perfect Dark Zero on the Xbox 360, and from the gameplay, it looks like a mix from Cyberpunk 2077 and Mirror's Edge. And hey, 8 years since Mirror's Edge Catalyst released, so I'll take anything at this point. It's not like a new game is coming anytime soon, unfortunately. Some Flight Simulator, Elder Scrolls Online, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which looks amazing. Titanfall had a neat trailer, but I don't have a clue what it's all about. Since it was first announced, I've been following Stalker 2's updates and trailers, and it's finally releasing soon. It took some years, but it's finally time. And Xbox closed this amazing showcase with a trailer for Gears of War E-Day, a prequel of the first Gears of War. Look, I've never played Gears before, so this is obviously not for me, but I know that Gears fans definitely pissed their pants after the trailer. I don't know, seeing a young Marcus Phoenix is what we all needed that day. I'm shocked, I was not expecting a presentation this good from Xbox. This was almost E3 level of quality reveals. That showcase was full of surprises and blew Sony's State of Play and the Summer Game Fest presentation out of the water. The Xbox showcase was no doubt a 4 out of 5. Not gonna lie, this gave me hope for the Xbox's future. And that's the PlayStation guy talking. Later that same day we got the annual PC Gaming Show, a show just for PC games. God, it was long. It dragged on for too long, man. And it's a shame, because we got some great games here, some that I want to learn more about later. But unfortunately, they were revealed during a total snooze fest. This one was a 2 out of 5. Pretty lame. Wanna talk lame? Ubisoft for 2024! Ubisoft was always the worst of the bunch with the lamest announcements, and their shows are overall a waste of time, and this one was no different. The show started with an orchestra, which doesn't fit this presentation at all. If there's a show that deserves one, it's the Xbox Showcase. First game, Star Wars Outlaws. Please just release the damn thing so I don't have to talk about it again. Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time remake. I gotta give it to Ubisoft. This was a cool reveal, if it wasn't already revealed 4 years ago. This game has been in development hell for so long. This is like Metroid Prime 4. They revealed it way too soon and then restarted the whole thing midway through. But still, I hope this will be a great game. Avatar Frontiers. Yeah, that's Avatar. And the final game was Assassin's Creed Shadows, a game we already knew about for 2 months. It's just another one, huh, Ubisoft? This blew some ass, god damn. Ubisoft Forward gets a 1 out of 5. 1 point for revealing a semi-new game, the rest was just terrible. Ubisoft killed my dog, okay? Now, it was finally time for Nintendo to shine and show them why they're the boss and own the entire gaming industry. The Direct took place on June 18th, and I wasn't expecting anything new or groundbreaking announcements, since this is the Switch's final year before the successor releases in 2025. And turns out that even being the final year, Nintendo still made some amazing announcements. First off, a new Mario and Luigi game? What the? Mario and Luigi Brothership is the name, and it's the first new Mario and Luigi game in 9 years since Paper Jam on the 3DS. After Alpha Dreams shut down in 2019, people lost all hope for a new Mario and Luigi game, but Nintendo made one anyways. This is truly the era for Mario RPG games, am I right? NES World Championships. Why did it take Nintendo 30 years to finally release the World Championships? We may never know. Have you ever looked at Space Jam and say, I wish basketball was real so I could play it? Well, there you go. Some people like to joke about the overabundance of farming games on Directs, but does this one really qualify as one? Farmagia is a game where you create an army of monsters by harvesting them from plants. Huh? Is he back? Yup, he returns once again. Donkey Kong Country returns. Again! I was seriously hoping for a new DK game, but sure, I'll take it. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, that's one of the stupidest names I've ever seen. Anyways, we got a release date and the announcement that 1 and 2 would also be remade in this style. I'm sorry, but I'm getting sick of this style of games. When Octopath Traveler did it, it was fine, it was unique. But now we've gotten a ton of games that all look exactly the same. But hey, if you like it, that's awesome, I like it too, but I'm just saying that it's getting too repetitive. This is not how you advertise a game. Oh my god. Not even the textures are rendered correctly. What is this? I know I shouldn't expect anything from a Funko Pop game, but this is just abysmal. It happened. Marvel vs. Capcom is finally back. For years, people have been clamoring for a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 port on modern systems, but Capcom went ahead and gave us all of them. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection is coming to Switch, PS4 and PS5, PC, and not Xbox, oddly enough. This is a dream come true, I can't wait to play these games. It's a Nintendo console's final year, so bring on a new Mario Party. Super Mario Party Jamboree is the title, and yeah, it's a Mario Party. Is it? I don't know, I think it would have been more interesting if they released DLC for Mario Party Superstars. That's a good Mario Party, and it's a shame Nintendo just abandoned it day one. But let's see how Jamboree works and if it will be a good time. A new 2D Zelda game where you play as Zelda? In 2024? This wasn't in anyone's bingo card, but it finally happened and I'm all for it. I can't blame Nintendo, When of Gamelon is the kind of game that gives PTSD, but I'm confident this time it's gonna work. Yeah, the Switch is in its deathbed. Stray looks terrible on Switch. Most next-gen third-party games shown on the Direct look like shit. The console is not built for this kind of games. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. Now, I never played much Ace Attorney, but I know this is massive. These games are considered by many as the best of the best, and look at that, now we have almost every Ace Attorney game on Switch. Besides what? The mobile game? Edgeworth's fans are eating good this year. At this point the direct was already pretty packed. A new Mario and Luigi, a 2D Zelda, Marvel vs Capcom. What could the final announcement be? Well, it was something fantastic. Ah! Metroid Prime 4, the game that was revealed 7 years ago on the Switch's first year and now it's finally coming in 2025? What the fu- This game looks beautiful and I can't believe after all this time, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is real. I know it's sad that the game was coming to Switch, but Nintendo has the opportunity to release this alongside the new console. Release Metroid Prime 4 as the technical showcase game for the Switch 2 alongside the new Pokemon Legends game. I want to experience this game in the best quality possible. The love Nintendo is giving to the Metroid series lately is awesome. Please keep it up in the next generation. Nintendo once again proved that they own the gaming industry indeed, and made an awesome show. 5 out of 5. No doubt the best presentation during this season. Xbox was a close second. And that was our Summer Game Fest 2024. I missed E3's funeral for this, but it definitely paid off just to complain about Ubisoft once again. How's it going? Gone here. When I'm not playing Tomodachi Life for the 3DS, I'm mourning the loss of a loved one. It was awesome, it was a total tearjerker and there was a band too. I'm gonna miss that funeral. I mean, it was time, funerals don't last forever. Although, we can reminisce on the culprit itself. E3? Is that an energy drink that pumps diesel into my veins? No, it's one that pumps piss. Do you remember E3? It was the most magical time for gamers, more than Christmas and Caps Lock Day. What do you mean? I love this! June was the month. E3 was the time where you would be excited for all the new reveals and games. Or you would be disappointed. Or you wouldn't care at all. But despite all the highs and lows, E3 was a good time and we gotta respect that. The first E3 event, or should I say Electronic Entertainment Expo, took place in 1995. Prior to E3 we had what? CES? Sure, an electronics show, but gaming was growing rapidly during the 90s, so we needed a show just for this type of media. The first couple of years were nothing special really. Some cool reveals for sure, but these were clearly oriented for investors and people from the industry rather than the average gamer. And that first E3, man, 3 company giants and only one came out on top. Nintendo was all about showing the Virtual Boy during the first E3, which is the worst thing you could do when the rest is showing all their cool and next-gen consoles. Sega Shadow dropped the Saturn, which was just dumb. And of course, the clip which I love to soy about. The PlayStation's price reveal was single-handedly the moment where Sony became a man and destroyed Sega. They weren't kidding with the PlayStation. This is a man's game. The second edition of E3, E3 1996, finally introduced the iconic red and yellow logo that would last till the grave. The highlights from the show was the Nintendo 64, called Ultra 64 during this time, Super Mario 64, and Sonic Extreme, which unfortunately never released. Why? I would do anything to play Sonic Extreme. This game looked so cool from the trailer and demos, but the development of Sonic Extreme was a troubled one and I'm aware of that. At least we have the fantastic fan recreations. Oh, and we also got Crash Bandicoot. This was really the mascot season. E3 1997 was truly one of the best E3s so far. Now this time they unveiled more games and they were more open to the consumers. Fallout, Half-Life, Metal Gear Solid, Quake 2, Banjo-Kazooie, Final Fantasy VII, F-Zero X, Resident Evil 2 and way more games were announced. Curiously, we also got the reveal of Conker's Quest, which would later be turned into Conker's Bad Fur Day, a more adult and grotesque version of the game. Oh, and Duke Nukem Forever. Good luck waiting 14 years for that one. E3 98 was quite possibly one of the worst for Sega Saturn fans. Sega announced that the Saturn was dead and buried at the event, but at least we got a sneak peek for the Dreamcast. Ocarina of Time was also revealed for the N64 and Pokemon Red and Blue, which was the main highlight of the event. The next E3, in 1999, was really E3 1995 2.0. Sega revealed the Dreamcast as a release date in the US, but Sony, once again, decides to do a little tomfoolery and reveal the PS2 in the US, and that was a warning for Sega's next years. And those were the early years of E3. They were kinda rough in the beginning, but in 4 years they established themselves as the go-to place for gaming announcements. But believe me when I say the 6th generation of consoles was the golden age of E3. It was also the early to mid-2000s and the beginning of the internet as we know it, so everyone could get on par with the latest E3 announcements. There's a lot of stuff to talk about from 2000 to 2005. Let's focus on some highlights and some random tidbits. Like one of the weirdest prototypes I've ever seen for a game. During Metroid Fusion's development, many changes were made on the story and literally everything around this game. Like, originally it was coming for the Game Boy Color instead of the Game Boy Advance, and the game was called Metroid 4, with a pretty badass logo. The story was also completely different, but we'll eventually get there when I talk about Fusion. Let's focus on the elephant in the room. This gameplay footage of E3 2001 is cursed as f***. Why is Emma standing on the ceiling? What is this map? Why is the game running in 300 FPS? I swear this footage is more smooth than real life. How is that even possible? On the topic of prototypes and games on an unfinished state, Luigi's Mansion. I know we've all seen that game over screen which isn't actually a game over screen, and Luigi screaming. But the atmosphere from this build is weird, not creepy per se, but terrifying. Why is Luigi's mouth wide open?
Sorry guys, I think the fan from this morning just kicked in.
I think one of the most mind-blowing moments from this generation was when Metal Gear Solid 2 was revealed in E3 2000. Now this is the moment where babies became sentient and boys became men. MGS2 was the perfect graphical showcase for the PS2 and by far was the most visually appealing game at that time. Remember when Bill freaking Gates revealed the metal cross with the green dot in the middle on E3 2000? Huh. Am I the only one that loves that original design of the Xbox and wish that they kept it on release? It's literally an Xbox, that was such a genius move. But nah, instead we got the rectangular box.
My name is Reggie, I'm about kicking ass, I'm about taking names,
nah,
and
what
we're
was Reggie
about
doing
making
in the
games.
2000s? This version of Reggie is too dangerous for us. You ever find these pictures of E3 2005 and you see freaking Geist as one of the main Nintendo reveals? Like, who gives a piss about Geist?
I do, but you don't need to worry about that. I just killed a bug.
E3 2005, that time where PS3s and Wii's were silver. This event was great for Nintendo fans, but terrible for Sony fans. How are we supposed to play with this? A stick? Sure, I'll manage. But a boomerang? Also they were dumb. How do we go from $2.99 from the PS1 to $5.99 for the PS3? That was wild. One of my favorite things during E3 were the fails. Sometimes companies would go on stage and showcase a game live. This wasn't a trailer or pre-recorded gameplay, they were actually playing the game backstage. And almost every time it would end in tragedy or just plain cringe moments. E3 in the 2010s was still fine as always, but stupidity reigned supreme during this decade. E3 2013 to be more exact, was home for one of the dumbest announcements so far, the Xbox One reveal. Even Xbox fans dread this moment. When Microsoft went on stage and said that the Xbox One needed the Kinect to work, it needed to stay online all the time, and many other factors, Microsoft shot themselves in the foot and lost support of many people. The Wii U was already a walking corpse in 2013, the Xbox One died before it even released, so the PS4 easily took the crown in the beginning of this generation. And that, sheesh, Sony didn't miss any chance to joke about the stupidity of the Xbox One during the early days. It was fun. E3 2018 had possibly one of the best things of all time, the iconic Everyone Is Here trailer for Smash Ultimate. I mean, 2018 was kind of a shit year for Switch games all things considered, but Smash Ultimate was our lord and savior. One of the best trailers that ever graced our screens. The moment Solid Snake spawned out of nowhere, it was over. Nintendo won!
E3 2019 didn't have much going on, except when Keanu Reeves said that the random attendant was breathtaking. I hope Keanu's okay.
E3 2020 didn't happen because of Lord Green and his little greenlets, but we did get one in 2021. Even with the stuff happening in the world, we got the fully digital E3, similar to Nintendo's presentation since the mid-2010s. And for a final E3, it was okay. We had some cool announcements, including Metroid Dread, I can't get enough of that game, and overall it was a fun week with presentations every day. But all things must come to an end. EA and Sony quitting E3 in 2016 and 2018 was odd, but we were alright until 2020. This was the time when Summer Game Fest started, and yup, it caught on with E3. When E3 2021 came, most people were definitely more hyped for E3 for sure, but there was a writing in the wall the moment SGF started and the rise of digital events, and unfortunately, E3 just couldn't catch on. On the following years, companies like Nintendo, Microsoft and Sega quit E3, and that ended up with the cancellation of E3 2022 and 2023, and then, bam, the death of E3. On late 2023, it was announced that E3 would not come back and it was dead, with SGF taking its place as the main place for game announcements. And that's just sad. I've said this before, but Summer Game Fest is vastly different than E3. with ads everywhere and overall being more corporate and lamer, it's soulless in my opinion. But those old E3 days will always be remembered by the gamers that were there, and its memory will live on with us. Except the Xbox One. Fuck that console. Was E3 good? Not really, but not bad either. It was the perfect combination between cringe and mind-blowing. As all things should be. But hey, it's not like SGF will ever reach the same heights as E3 anyways, so what if I create my own E3? Welcome to E2! We lost one of these along the way. Here's our first and only announcement for today, made by me! Made by yours truly, ladies and gentlemen. Behold! Grass Terrain the video game! It's coming in the next couple of years, but first, you need to donate to our Kickstarter campaign for the game. Our goal is $5 million, but I swear it's not gonna be used on Fent. I spent it all on Fent. How's it going? Gone here. I did it again. I changed my legal name to Tiny Titan. Awesome. I'm not a lunatic, I only named myself after a car. From a video game. So welcome everyone to a new me. Alright, I'm stretching this too much, let's talk about Mario Kart Wii. Mario Kart Wii is the 6th Mario Kart game. Whoa. Also the 3rd title after the console they were on. Dog Mario Kart was on a consistent streak of great games ever since the beginning. No misses whatsoever. Everyone with a Nintendo console bought Mario Kart, including Mario Kart DS, the 5th installment. And man, Mario Kart DS was a huge success, becoming the 3rd best-selling game of the DS with more than 20 million copies sold. This game sold like hotcakes, and why you ask? Because it's f***ing Mario Kart. Every sane person knows that Donkey Kong in the go-kart is epic, and that includes your weird-ass uncle cause he sure hell bought this game. So when the Nintendo Wii was announced and with the introduction of motion controls, it was finally time to take Mario Kart to the next level. I mean, Wii Sports and Super Mario Galaxy were cool and implemented motion controls in their own way, so let's see what Nintendo would do with the next Mario Kart game. Originally called Mario Kart X and then uncreatively renamed to Mario Kart Wii, it was announced in 2007 with positive reactions. Was it for the game? No, it was for a wheel. The only thing that everyone wanted was the Wii wheel, not even the game. Oh, I bought this cool wheel and it came with Mario for free! I often like to talk about the beta state of these games, and there's not much notable stuff here compared to its predecessors. From what I've gathered, PT Piranha and Koopa Paratroopa would make a return from Double Dash and Hammer Bro would make its playable debut, which wouldn't happen until the mobile game Mario Kart Tour. I would have loved to see these guys back compared to the characters we actually ended up getting. You know who I'm talking about. The Chain Chomp item would make a return from Double Dash and the Boo item from DS. I mean, the Boo item would be cool if it came back, but the Chain Chomp had no business being in this game. The Bullet Bill item was introduced in this game, and it's far superior to the Chain Chomp. This item never returned from Double Dash, so we may call it a relic from the past. Mario Kart Wii released in April 2008, and oh man, it's time to realize my wildest dreams! Can't get enough of wheels. Mario Kart Wii was an instant success at launch, with copies being difficult to find. If you wanted this game, you needed to camp outside your local game store 1 week before a restock happened. Maybe not that early. Mario Kart Wii was the game to get a Wii with. Nobody cares about Wii Sports anymore. This is what mans play. Almost everyone I know that had a Wii had Mario Kart Wii. It was a must-have game for every Wii owner. Now me, I never owned the Wii. I always was a PS3 guy and I grew up with that console, and when you pick one, you can't go with the other. Except that time when an Xbox 360 entered my household, but don't worry, it exploded after 7 days. I always look at the ceiling to remember the good times. I just wish there was a way to play Mario Kart Wii without buying an actual Wii, just play one game. If only I knew how. Yeah, we're emulating this one through the Dolphin emulator, aka one of the best things, period. And what are we playing with? The f***ing irony. It's only half my fault, it was her idea to yap about Mario Kart Wii and play with a non-Sysicon controller that in all means is not meant for Mario Kart Wii.
But was it a bad idea?
Not at all, I'm gonna love this. Mario Kart Wii starts with a Mario Kart Wii box art that transitions into the actual Mario Kart Wii box art and the Mario Kart Wii logo. Cool. And hey, look at that, it's our favorite plastic garbage. The Wii Wheel. I like to joke around how this thing is useless, and in hindsight, it actually is. Is it any different from moving the Wii remote? No, cause you're gonna use the classic controller or a GameCube controller anyways, so why even bother? But for all the Wii Will enjoyers everywhere, I believe it was awesome when it came out and was a new thing. Heck, I loved the idea and wanted to try it back then, but that must have been before I became a pessimistic bitch. Overall, Wii Will. Stupid. And that's the opinion of a person that never held a Wii Will with their hands, so maybe I should shut up now and talk about the actual game. Grand Prix, Battle Mode, Versus and Time Trial. It's been a while, but f it. Welcome back, Mario Kart Super Circuit. No mission mode? A mission mode was meant to return from DS, but it ended up being scrapped and I've gotta ask. Why? It was my dose of single player fun and you take it away from me? Here's our character roster. I like it. It's not my favorite, but it works, it's cool. I personally like how it's divided from lightest to heaviest characters. We have the usual Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Daisy, Yoshi, Koopa Troopa, Donkey Kong, Bowser, Wario and Waluigi returning from the previous games. Not only do we have Baby Mario and Baby Luigi, but now we have Baby Peach and Baby Daisy. I just don't see the appeal. The babies were never my favorite, so please, just stop. Toadette comes back after being absent from DS, which is neat, and Dry Bones as well. Birdo, Diddy Kong, Bowser Jr. and King Boo return from Double Dash, and I love to see it. King Boo especially. Rosalina is one of the new characters, and yep, I expected that. Right after Mario Galaxy, Rosalina was the new Mario girl, and including her on the new Mario Kart was a no-brainer. The best part is not just her, it's Rosalina and Luma, so now we have a 2-on-1 character. Whoa. Dry Bowser also made its debut on Wii and is just a more bony and overall better version of Bowser. He's a good representation of the new Super Mario Bros. Series. Mr. Mario Kart Wii himself is on Mario Kart Wii, believe it or not. Funky Kong. No doubt the most popular inclusion. Funky Kong is the most used character of this game, and hey, that's what happens when your stats are cracked and he's the best character because of that. I like me some Funky Kong, but oh, is that me? Mii's also made their debut on Mario Kart Wii, and this is beyond cool. The sky was the limit for what characters would be driving a bike. Finally, Karl Marx on Mario Kart. I thought I'd never see the day. Oh yeah, we didn't have this before. Bikes were introduced on Wii, and they serve as sometimes a faster and risky alternative to the normal kart, allowing you to do wheelies like there's no tomorrow. These tend to be harder to drive compared to the karts, but when you finally master it, oh, it's a good feeling. Mario Kart Wii also introduced an automatic mode, basically an easy mode that lets the game race and drift for you. I'm sure we don't need this even with the wrong controller, so let's go manual and play our first round. Mario Kart Wii is nothing like its predecessor. Oh, that's the actual game. Okay. Mario Kart Wii is another Mario Kart, but this time on widescreen and dirtier. That's it. I'm not a fan of this look. This reminds me of Uncharted and Halo 3, not Mario Kart. This shadowing is ass, but in defense of this game, it only looks bad in some courses. That aside, this looks and plays like a normal Mario Kart, and that's okay. Fortunately, we did get a new feature, the Trick Jump, a feature that makes me awake at night. With the shake of a Wii remote, or in this case, the R2 button, while jumping from a ramp, you can do an awesome trick jump. I love this. This changed everything. Playing any other Mario Kart game before Wii, with the exception of Double Dash, feels kinda lame and slow. That trick jump makes a difference. Now for the items. Most items return from previous games, including the fake item box, making its final appearance on a mainline game. Why did they stop? Honestly, I don't know, but glad we have it here, even if it's kinda useless and easily avoidable. Maybe that's the reason. The Bullet Bill makes its first appearance on Wii, and oh, I love this item. It's not one you catch all the time, only if you suck at this game, but when you get one, no matter the situation, it's perfect. But hey, why wouldn't it? It makes you invincible and faster than whatever. The Bullet Bill might be the best item in Mario Kart history. But I can't say much about the Mega Mushroom. This item is such a disappointment. With the ability of making you bigger for a certain amount of time, the Mega Mushroom does nothing. It only makes your hitbox bigger and protects you from incoming shells. It's not a good item, and that's what I also feel about the Power Block. I hate the Power Block. Using it's cool, but it's annoying when everyone spins out. It genuinely fills me up with rage. Imagine someone comes up to you and shows you a cool box and then you spin out and fall to the ground. I hate it. However, you can avoid it while midair and that's cool. Overall, it's a watered down lightning item, but it's still annoying. And then we have the Thundercloud, an awesome item that hurts you? Yeah, if Mario Kart items were class, the Thundercloud would be the quiet kid at the back of the class. When you get this item, you have around 10 seconds till it strikes you and then you receive the same effect as lightning. But the fun thing about the Thundercloud is that you can pass it on to another player while it's activating, and that's an awesome concept. I think we've never received anything similar to that after this game, so maybe Nintendo should revisit the idea of the Thundercloud. Mario Kart Wii has a selection of 8 cups, 4 new and 4 retro, same as Mario Kart DS. And these courses are... how do I say this? 50-50. Half of these are good and the other half is just bad, but let's take a look at each of them. The Mushroom Cup starts off with most likely one of the worst tracks of Mario Kart history, Luigi Circuit. Hey, it doesn't look like it, but I fuck with Luigi, alright? He's the man. But this track doesn't make justice for Luigi and as a first track. It's lame and there's no notable aspects. The weirdest part is that the first track of Double Dash was also called Luigi Circuit, and that one is far superior than this one. Moo Moo Meadows is so fun and cozy, it's like a spread out Moo Moo farm with lots of obstacles to trick jump. This is how you make a farm course. I love Moo Moo Meadows. Mushroom Gorge, how we love Mushroom Gorge. This is the trick jump track, with almost the entire course composing of mushrooms. This is a fan favorite and a true classic Wii course. Toad's Factory, the place where they make the item boxes. Aesthetically, looks awesome. Playing it? It's fine, nothing crazy, nothing here makes me wow, but the memorable one. Mario Circuit. Another one. Mario Circuit from Wii is interesting, not the best, but certainly not the worst. I think we've seen better Mario Circuits before. Coconut Mall, the most iconic Mario Kart Wii track. The entire track is a giant mall. That's it, and in my opinion that's enough to convince me. Basing it after the Piantas from Mario Sunshine is an odd choice, but man, driving up the escalator, jumping over the huge ramp to the outside, avoiding the cars, Coconut Mall is the best Mario Kart Wii can offer. And that also goes to DK Summit. Oh, I'm sorry, DK Snowboard Cross. This is like a snow version of DK Mountain, but I dare say it, kinda better. I still prefer the volcano and jungle look, but DK Summit is so much more fun with snow bumps and... what's that? Yeah, this game also introduced F-pipes, another way to do tricks. It's great for extra boost. Wario's Gold Mine is so much fun. This is my go-to track in this game. Wario does know to make great tracks. The Star Cup starts off with Daisy's Circuit, the most skippable track of Mario Kart Wii. This really was just made to prove that Luigi and Daisy are a couple. Kind of a filler track to be honest. Now Koopa Cape. Whoa, it's time. I adore this track, but only the Wii version. That underwater segment with the pipe and green lasers is so much fun. And the track overall is beautiful, it reminds me of that era where Pepsi had some cool ads evolving water in the 2000s. Yeah, Koopa Cape reminds me of Pepsi. That's right. Maple Tree Way is such a vibe. I like Orange, so automatically, Maple Tree Way is one of the best tracks of all time. I don't make the rules. But I mean, who doesn't like Maple Tree Way? It's the best representation of Canada in a video game. I don't know, I know that they love leaves. Grumble Volcano. I got nothing. I don't like this one. I don't like my fair share of desert tracks, but I kind of f*** with Dry Ruins. They just picked desert hills and went, put a temple on it. Genius. Moonview Highway is like a mix between Toad's Turnpike and Mushroom City, and I prefer it over those two. It's more diverse and interesting with two sections that don't look alike. They look like completely different tracks, and you don't see that all the time. Now we get into the big stuff. Bowser's Castle. Not particularly my favorite iteration of Bowser's Castle, but I like how it wiggles. It makes me happy inside. And here we go, the ultimate Mario Kart track, Wii's Rainbow Road. This is by far the hardest track in Mario Kart history. But who cares about that? This track is beautiful, and being based on Mario Galaxy is a huge plus. It's a hard one, but honestly I never had a major issue with this one. It's perfect. Now moving over to the retro courses, we encountered the most bizarre selection of courses I've seen so far. So instead of going one by one in depth, let's talk about the cups. Shell Cup. Absolute dog shit. What kind of selection is this? Peach Beach? Yoshi Falls? Ghost Valley 2? And they don't look good, they look straight up ported from the source material. With the exception of SNES and GBA tracks, but that's obvious. Banana Cup. We love Waluigi Stadium and Delfino Square's inclusion here, but like I said, these don't feel new. I'm glad Mario Kart 8 for example reinvented the older courses and made them feel newer, cause Mario Kart Wii sure didn't. Leaf Cup. I mean, DK's Jungle Parkway is a surprise, but nothing to write home about. Lightning Cup. Honestly, not the worst. SNES Mario Circuit 3 throws me off, but DK Mountain and N64 Bowser's Castle are good inclusions. Overall, like I said, 50-50. Kind of a letdown with the retro courses, but the new courses are definitely the highlight that made up for it. Did you know this game had online? What? Yeah, but only if you live in the past, cause this right here doesn't work. But if you want to play it, there's some fan-made mods and programs that bring the online back to life, and surprisingly, many people still play this game. Yep, even after Mario Kart 7 and 8, Many people still come back to this game and it has some major online presence. This is a sign of a great game, but also some great fans because I see those mods everywhere on YouTube. That's insanely cool. Mario Kart Wii is what every Super Mario Kart on the SNES wants to be. Good. It's a fun time, even when you're using a controller meant for Metal Gear Solid 4. I don't fear the devil, I take risks, so let's hope I survive the next 20 seconds safe and sound after the crime I just committed. That works. Thanks, Nintendo. How's going on here? Gaming, am I right? Where we last left off, the ASRB was created and video games received an official rating system. Finally, I mean, it needed to happen. It was inevitable. Games were becoming just too violent, and when graphics are getting better and better, it's expected that things might get a bit realistic. Atari games? Sure, those could be anything. But Mortal Kombat? Yep, that's blood. There's no way around that. But amidst all of this, a new player entered the ring. A player that had the audacity to call the Super Nintendo and Genesis toys. Electronic Arts' founder, Trip Hawkins, with the help of 7 other companies including Gold Star, now known as LG, Matsushita, AT&T, MCA, Time Warner and EA itself, created a 3DO company in 1991, with the main objective to create the ultimate gaming system. In 1993, the 3DO Interactive Multiplayer releases. What a name for the most powerful console in the market. Also the priciest. $700. No wonder no one bought a 3DO. And Jesus, for that? These 3DO games were rough around the edges, but they did the job. The 3DO was a major flop and never reached the same heights of Nintendo and Sega, and oh, look at that, it wasn't the only one. Atari came back from the dead and released the Atari Jaguar in 1993, the first 64-bit console. Yeah, sure, and this is the first person ever to set foot on the sun. It was bogus, the Jaguar was weak as shit, but still better than the SNES and the Genesis. Nintendo and Sega were actually getting behind in terms of power and hardware. 3D games and CDs were taking over the industry, and besides Sega with their little contraption and some FX games on the SNES like Star Fox, these consoles didn't have much to offer. And it didn't get much better when Sony, after the failed Nintendo partnership, announced that they would enter the console market with the Sony PlayStation. A new console that used CDs and had pretty darn good graphics. A company as big as Sony entering the market at this point of time was terrifying, but it was expected. They wouldn't just throw their newly acquired game knowledge that they got working with Nintendo. Around this time, Sega finally made their move and unveiled the Sega Saturn, Sega's first 32-bit system. First. Yeah, for some reason Sega thought it was a big idea to release the 32X, another Genesis add-on, on the US mere months before the Saturn came out. Dumb move. I'm not even gonna touch on the 32X, it was one of Sega's biggest failures, and it was only the beginning of the end of Sega's console run. Nothing crazy. The PlayStation and Sega Saturn released in late 1994 in Japan, and they did alright. But for these first couple of months, the Sega Saturn was actually winning the console race. Cool, but what about Nintendo? They have read E3 1995, the year where Nintendo finally had some news on the next generation of Nintendo. The Nintendo Ultra 64 was briefly talked about in the event, and that's it. Back to Sony and Sega. Sega of America's president at the time, Tom Kalinske, in a last-minute request from Sega of Japan, made the bold announcement that the Saturn just released in the US for $399 USD. Yup, they shadow dropped the system months before the official release. This caused some major backlash with some retailers that cut ties with Sega and said that they wouldn't sell the Saturn. Sega fumbled, but Sony saw the opportunity to make the best possible announcement that E3.
$299.
This single clip decided the entire generation's course. Sony won, Sega lost, the 3DO was dead, yup, this event was the last time we heard of them, and Nintendo was still figuring it out. Oh, here we go, the Nintendo 64 released in 1996 with Super Mario 64, the very first 3D Mario game. This game looked amazing, but it didn't matter, cause this thing released 1 year late, it still used cartridges, which made many devs switch over to PlayStation, and the controller was just bad. But even with all these factors into account, it was still doing better than the Saturn. Poor Saturn, it had great 2D games, it just came out in the wrong time. Since Nintendo and Sega already had mascots, Sony joined the fray and made what? A mascot. Crash Bandicoot from the game Crash Bandicoot. The game was great and sold pretty well, but this was more of a war between Crash and Mario 64 cause Sega cancelled their upcoming Sonic game for the Saturn. Alright, Sony was beating everyone's asses, but Nintendo was still number 1 on portable consoles. Only 9 years after the original Game Boy, Nintendo dropped the Game Boy Color, a Game Boy with colors. Not only were the games in color, but also the shell. Whoa. They weren't the first, but no doubt the first to be successful. No disrespect to the Game Gear, but that shit was terrible. Before we go into the 6th generation, let's remember the best games of the 5th generation. Moving on, in late 1998, Sega officially put the Saturn to rest and released the Sega Dreamcast in Japan, the first 6th generation console of the big three. The Sega Dreamcast was just insane, and releasing it with a Sonic game after a long absence of no mainline Sonic games was a breath of fresh air. The Dreamcast was doing pretty well in the beginning, even when it released internationally 1 year later. Was Sega finally at the top for the first time? Yeah, but it didn't last long, cause Sony went ahead and released the Sony PlayStation in 2000. A console that doubles the power of the PS1, that uses DVDs and doubles as a DVD player on an era where DVD players are expensive. That's just a recipe for success, but also the one for a competition killer. Not long after, in 2001, Sega announced that they would leave the console race and only focus on being a third-party dev. This was a shock, like, who would ever thought that this would happen, am I right? At the time, it was bizarre that someone that was basically there since the beginning would leave just like that. But it was for the best. But hey, at least it gave us Sonic on PlayStation and Nintendo consoles. Ew, this isn't natural. It was also around this time that Microsoft, the Windows guys, announced that they would join the console race with the Xbox, a literal PC in console form. Say what you want about the original Xbox, but this thing is powerful. In fact, the most powerful of this gen. And what better people to reveal it than Bill Gates and The Rock? What the? Moving over to Nintendo, their console this generation was none other than the GameCube. Collector's nightmare, cause this right here is very expensive now. Jesus. Yeah, I only sold one kidney and my liver just to buy this. And on the handheld department, we have the Game Boy Advance. Now this is an involved Game Boy in all means. 32-bit, an horizontal design, no backlight screen. But it did pretty well. The GBA is a console universally loved by everyone basically. And what Nintendo do after 3 years? A f***ing substitute. The Nintendo DS released in 2004 and initially, Nintendo said it was just an alternative for the GBA, but that's completely a lie when it discovered that the DS had a slot for GBA games. This was no alternative, this was a successor, but yeah, killing the Game Boy line must have been tough, I must say. But Sony did the unthinkable. They made their own portable console. Yup, tired of the success of the PS2, they released the PSP, a DS, better in just every way. In the 90s it was the whole SNES and Genesis discourse, but I think the biggest battle of the mid-2000s was the DS versus the PSP, and I was on the latter side. This was our 6th gen lineup. Sega left in the beginning, Nintendo did fine but they were still in the bottom, the Xbox did pretty good and the PS2 sold over 150 million copies. I think the winner is clear. But one more thing we need to talk about the early to mid-2000s was the rise of the internet and multiplayer games. Many consoles tried to incorporate that kind of stuff in the 90s, but failed. The first one that really nailed it was the Dreamcast. And after that, the PS2 did it. Microsoft launched the Xbox Live, an online service for the Xbox and Windows in 2002, which was the best usage yet. But there was nowhere to go but up. And that shows when the Xbox 360 released in 2005. But let's leave it for another time. One last time. Finally, we're almost reaching the best part of the years of gaming, the birth of Goncalus. Can't wait for that. How's it going, Gon here? Gambling? It's a new minute and some brand new bans. I'm banned across 80 countries, 49 US states, and every 7-Eleven location nearby. Luckily, the nearest one is in Norway and I'm in Portugal. One thing that draws any human person is controversy. We love some little controversy, there's no shame in that. And we also love the sayings, we can't play. You already know where I'm going with this. Banned games. According to people, these are games that are prohibited from selling and owning in certain countries. Hey, sometimes the game that you're playing isn't accepted in some areas. Believe me, I know. Games are banned for multiple reasons. It can be offensive to certain cultures, too violent, too sexy, or just because. The Chinese wouldn't catch me dead playing Animal Crossing New Horizons on their country. Or heck, even this funny car is banned on the UK. Carmageddon is a 1997 game made by Stainless Games and released in various consoles such as the PS1 and later on mobile. The main focus of this game is to rack up points and money while running over pedestrians. Yeah, you just hate fun. In some European countries like Germany and the UK, the game did release but heavily censored, switching the humans for robots or zombies, so technically it didn't get banned but changed completely. But one country that did ban it was Brazil. Carmageddon caused some controversy in Brazil and was banned from the country. And Carmageddon wasn't the only one. I didn't know this, but Doom and Duke Nukem 3D were also banned in Brazil for excessive violence. Sucks to suck. Carmageddon is crazy, but Manhunt 2 might just be the most banned game of all time. Manhunt 2 is a game made by Rockstar that released on PlayStation 2, PSP and Nintendo Wii, and oh, it's one of those games. Manhunt 2 was one of the few games that received the forbidden, adults-only rating in North America, automatically making it difficult to find on release. The game was banned in Saudi Arabia, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, South Korea, Malaysia, Italy, Ireland and the UK due to its extreme violence and graphic nature. It's a stealth game focused on executions and finishers, with kills more graphic than the last. I know the game has a story, but I'm not getting into that. I already feel the Australians breathing on my neck just talking about this game. The game was a commercial flop and received mixed reviews, but it did get unbanned and released in Italy, Ireland and the UK, albeit censored and heavily altered. The rating on North America also lowered from an AO rating to an M rating, but this game was beyond saving. Gambling! I don't have any comment. Gambling is not every country's cup of tea, and that's okay. Loot boxes are the gaming equivalent of gambling, and some countries have banned that system. You know how it works, you pay some money and you receive randomly generated items in the gacha system. You may not get what you want, but that's the fun of loot boxes, spending all your life savings till you get the skin that you want. Numerous countries, primarily from Europe, have restricted loot boxes to only adults or have outright banned the whole mechanic. Some games, like Mario Kart Tour for example, were forced to remove the Warpipe gacha mechanic in favor of a shop where you can buy what you want with an in-game currency. But they're not entirely banned, only a few countries have banned the whole thing, with most places just restricting it to minors. China has banned multiple games throughout the years. Some include PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Roblox and Animal Crossing New Horizons. Obviously. PUBG was reportedly banned from containing too much blood and gore, Roblox for anti-communist propaganda, and New Horizons cause people just couldn't play the game normally and made anti-government messages with floor patterns. But it still is sold on the Chinese dark market. Postal 2 is a 2003 FPS game, and it must have offended everyone cause it's banned in multiple countries. Malaysia, Uzbekistan, France, Germany, Sweden, New Zealand and Australia have banned Postal 2 for excessive violence and gore. Australia and New Zealand are more interesting cause the ban was lifted for both countries in 2013, but it was banned again in New Zealand in 2023 and Australia in 2024. Here's a weird one. Mega Man 5, the 1992 NES game, is banned in Vietnam. So apparently, Napalm Man, one of the main bosses in the game, had a level that had parallels to the war in Vietnam. That sucks. A game so old as Mega Man 5 being banned for a specific reason as that one is weird, and one-of-a-kind censorship. And that's what you can expect for these games. They're not always perfect and don't satisfy some people, but the Guy game is something disgusting. So the Guy game is a 2004 adult game for PS2, Xbox and Windows, and it looks like your average shovelware horny game show game in first sight. But this one is different. It actually includes underage pornography. Yes, you heard it right. Some illegal content in this PS2 game. Great. In the final levels of the Guy game, a clip of a 17-year-old girl appears, flashing her tits to the camera, and apparently, she wasn't even informed that the footage would be used to promote the game. A lawsuit happened, the studio shut down, and the Guy game was banned in the US, one of the few games that is actually banned in the United States. Compared to the other games, the Guy game is just an illegal product. This is a game you should avoid at all costs. Fortnite is another game that is banned in multiple countries, including Iraq, Indonesia, Syria and China. China is a fun example cause the game was available there for 3 years. Kinda. See, the game did release but without microtransactions and skulls cause that's offensive in the country. a version of Fortnite where you could get a victory royale without the need of being the last person on the map. This is weird. Fortnite China, nicknamed by the fans, shut down in November 2021, and with that, exclusive items that never made it into the main game, for some reason. God, I want that penguin back bling. We've seen some f***ed up games today, but I wasn't expecting Fallout 3 to be on the list.
Naughty bastard.
Fallout 3, the game banned in Australia, Germany, India and Japan. That Fallout 3. The game was banned in 4 countries but for completely different reasons. Australia banned the game because the drug morphine is referenced, but that ended up being altered internationally and the ban got lifted. Germany banned Fallout 3 because of its score, and India because of a mutant called Brahmin. Cool. And Japan because of the numerous nuclear bomb references. Understandable. Did you know Dead Space is banned in Germany, Japan and China? Yeah, no wonder. This game is the epitome of horror, violence and gore. This is the same as saying water is wet. Iran has banned a couple of games, 2 of those include the mobile games Clash of Clans and Pokemon Go, due to it encouraging violence and for security reasons respectively. Pokemon Go was a bit controversial when it released, so I get the ban, but Clash of Clans is just... Anyways, look at my village. I saved the best for last, cause these 2 games weren't banned in certain regions like the rest. Developer Silicon Knights released the games 2 Human in 2008 and X-Men Destiny in 2011. In the surface, these don't have nothing wrong, nothing worse to ban them. Well, Epic Games sees it differently. 2 Human and X-Men Destiny were developed using Unreal Engine 3, Epic Games' engine, and Silicon Knights actually misused the code for the engine in these 2 titles. So in 2013, Epic Games sued Silicon Knights, and the latter lost and had to pay Epic $4 million. In the following year, both games were delisted from digital stores and all unsold copies were destroyed. And that marked the end of Silicon Knights, cause they shut down later in 2014 with X-Men Destiny being their final release. They should have seen it coming, but what a brutal way to go out. These were some examples of banned games. Of course, this was just a portion cause don't get me started with countries like North Korea. You can't please everyone, but it's fun to look at something inoffensive be actually offensive to some people. Like, you're telling me that Iran can play Clash of Clans? Oh, here's my village, by the way.
Banned games are like a family to me. We have a lot in common. What am I doing here talking about my compatriots? Let's get down to business. I may not be able to gamble as Goncalus, but I can create my own new persona.
I don't think that's a good idea.
John Gambling here. I like to gamble and eat gambling ass. Let's gamble. How's going? Gon here. I was recently diagnosed with trypophobia. And yep, I must say I do trip a lot. I'm now a part of the cool gang, and how about we celebrate by playing a game that has never been more relatable than ever. What a great game! Super Smash Bros. Melee revolutionized anti-basing in the early 2000s. Melee was the perfect sequel for the N64 classic, with more characters, stages, modes, collectibles, more everything. This is a sequel done right, and selling more than Mario Kart and Mario Sunshine, heck, selling more than every GameCube title, says a lot. Super Smash Bros. Is now officially a big boy franchise, and Nintendo needs to keep it going. Believe me, this is just the beginning. At a press conference in 2005, Nintendo president at the time, Satoru Iwata, announced on stage that the next installment on the Smash Bros. Series would begin development in the next couple of months for the next Nintendo console. Online play would also make its debut on Smash 3. This reveal was a shock for Masahiro Sakurai. He doubted that Nintendo would make another Smash game since Sakurai left HAL Laboratory 2 years prior. But Iwata did tell Sakurai that he wanted him to be the director of the next game, if it ended up happening. And here it is, so Masahiro Sakurai returns as director of Smash 3. Yay. We didn't get any news till E3 2006. During Nintendo's presentation on the Wii, we got one of the best reveals of all time. A transition from the GameCube to the Wii. This is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. These visuals look drastically different from Melee. They knew exactly what they're doing with this trailer. And we also got our first slate of newcomers. Meta Knight from the Kirby series makes his debut with his own stage, Halberd. Pit from Kid Icarus is our throwback character this game. Not the most popular choice, but this inclusion single-handedly revived the Kid Icarus franchise with Kid Icarus Uprising on the 3DS. And when the f*** are we getting that remake? Samus gets an upgrade, turning her into Zero Suit Samus from Metroid Zero Mission. Now she basically works like Zelda and Sheik from Melee. Wario. Finally! makes his Smash debut with his WarioWare design, and I know how much Sakurai wanted him in the game. They even made him fart in the trailer, this is great! And there you have it, Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
君は大乱闘スマッシュブラザーズを知っているかね？ああ、任天堂のショータイムだ。
The clone of the man who sold the world himself, Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series makes his debut on the Super Smash Bros. Series, and the first third-party character of the franchise. This changed the game. Yes, Sakurai and Kojima are friends and Snake was meant to be on Melee, so this was inevitably coming. But this opened the door for so many characters, and Snake changed the course of the Smash games from this point forward, as we'll see with later games. After E3 2006, one of the best things Nintendo has ever done in the 2000s started, and that was the Smash Bros. Dojo. I wasn't there when it happened, but the Smash Bros. Dojo was a blog ran by Sakurai that was updated daily with new characters, modes, features, and all that till the game's release. That's awesome, Nintendo should definitely do this more often. In the first months, final smashes were explained, but we'll get into that in a bit. In August, Ike from Fire Emblem and Diddy Kong from Donkey Kong Country were unveiled as new characters. In October we got Lucas from Mother and...
Sonic's the name, Speed's my game.
That's right, Sonic the Hedgehog finally in Smash Bros. This is absurd, this was impossible 10 years prior, but now Mario and Sonic can finally beat each other's asses on an official game. Oh, and we also got King DDD, but after Sonic, who cares? We got Pikmin and Olimar in January, and yes, Pikmin representation, that's what we want. Lucario from Pokemon is revealed in February, and next month we got Rob, my favorite character from Mario Kart DS. How cute. And back to back in the end of March, we got Toon Link from Zelda the Wind Waker and Wolf from Star Fox. Wolf is a fan favorite, everyone loves Wolf. Toon Link was just not inclusion, but as replacement of Young Link, it's a huge upgrade. And here's our final roster. Dr. Mario, Young Link, Pichu, Mewtwo and Roy didn't make it, but excluding Mewtwo, there weren't any major losses. Listen, I love Roy, but between Ike and Roy, the answer is clear. After many delays, Super Smash Bros. Brawl released in January 2008 for the Wii, and some people were not fans of this one. The reception was mostly positive, but for competitive players this was a major downgrade from Melee. So let's see why people call this the worst Smash game and prove them why they're wrong. This is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Firing up Brawl, we are greeted with Peak. This one's iconic, that song is instantly recognizable. I can pair it with any random image and you know where it's from. That's 2008 Super Smash Bros. Brawl from the Nintendo Wii. Why wouldn't I know? We have a variety of modes, including a new one called Subspace Emissary. Whatever that is, we'll be going to classic mode. The new stages are also very good. Shadow Moses, New Pork City and Luigi's Mansion are among my favorite stages. These were the biggest upgrade from Melee. Gameplay wise, Super Smash Bros. Brawl is not much different from its predecessor, except we have random tripping now. This is one of the reasons why many comp players hate Brawl. If your character is running, it has a chance of tripping, creating a disadvantage. Why? There is no logical reason, it just happens, but it's not because of such a minor feature that I'm giving up on Brawl. Smash Brawl introduced Final Smashes, a strong finisher move. It serves as an item. The first person to break the floating orb gets to launch a Final Smash. It's different from each character, but Wario definitely has the best one, giving you the ability to play as the almighty Wario Man. God, I love that ass. We received numerous new items, but here's some of the best ones. The assist trophy works the same way as the Pokeball, but now we have some cool cameos of characters such as Waluigi and Grey Fox from Metal Gear. Dragoon is just an underrated item, so basically 3 pieces drop randomly during the match, and when someone has them all, you have the ability to one-shot your adversary. That is strong, but then again, you need the 3 parts, if you're missing one, it doesn't work. You heard about the hammer, but now we have the Golden Hammer, a hammer better in just every way. It's one of the rarest items to appear, but it turns you into the strongest player on the match. One shot of this hammer, and you're done. The Screw Attack is an okay item, it works just like the Screw Attack from the Metroid series. I just need to mention it cause it's from Metroid. Every mode returned from Melee, except Adventure mode. In its place, we got the Subspace Emissary mode, Brawl Zone Adventure mode. And this is Brawl's best. Subspace Emissary is one of Smash's best adventure modes. I personally enjoyed World of Light a bit more. The story focuses on defeating one character called Taboo. He's basically an overpowered god and the embodiment of subspace. But for my Smash Ultimate brain, he's just that random spirit. All I have to say about the campaign is that King DDD is the GOAT. Collectibles this time around were absolutely in their best here. Alongside trophies, we now have stickers, something Ultimate should have done with the spirits. Stage Builder was also introduced here and it's just that, and that's one of the best additions in Smash. We also received challenges and a new special tab called Masterpieces, free time demos of classic Nintendo games. Whoa, 30 seconds to play Donkey Kong is whatever, but it's nice to have it here. But the best and most random addition was the Chronicle tab. This little thing included every game released for each Nintendo console, with dates and everything. Nintendo really shouldn't have done this. It's such a random and niche thing to include, but they f***ing did it. God bless 2008 Nintendo. Yeah, in general, Super Smash Bros. Brawl is an enjoyable game. Tripping is a flaw, but it really doesn't take me out of the experience. And the legacy this game has of bringing third-party characters to the roster and a big-ass adventure mode cannot be understated. Although Smash 4 fumbled on adventure mode, god that stank. It has a legacy, and a place on Nintendo history. I just wish more people talked about this game. Stop referring it as the worst game when Smash 64 exists. Like, you gotta be at the lowest of your low if you think that. I love Super Smash Bros. As much as the next guy, but that tripping problem is absolutely abysmal. I'm just tired of tripping a lot, and if someone is listening, let's watch the trip together sometime. How's it going, Gon here? Do you like video game?
Play that!
Ah, gee, Scorpion, how long has it been? 6 months?
Ha! Nah, I only came here because your mental health is clearly deteriorating, and you need some good games in your life.
No, it hadn't.
No, you need some Tekken 3 in your life and play with the best of the best.
Alright, Aaron, I'll play Tekken with you. But first... Tekken is my favorite fighting game franchise. No other game has a story like Tekken, no other game plays like Tekken, no other has King on their roster. Every fighting game is cool on their own way. Mortal Kombat has the gore and the characters, Street Fighter is the original fighting game with iconic characters in style, and then there's Guilty Gear doing its thing and being the best. But Tekken feels so unique and out there compared to everyone else, with silly characters, an overarching story, and 3D gameplay that not many fighting games use nowadays, and that's why it's my favorite. And today, we are revisiting my favorite game of the franchise, heck, it's everyone's favorite. It's Tekken 3. 2 years after Tekken 2, the sequel, Tekken 3 released in arcades in 1997 and the Sony PlayStation port in 1998. This game was praised hard when it came out, with some even calling it the best fighting game of all time, and to some people, this statement still stands. That goes to show how good this game is and how evolved the Tekken formula from the past 2 games in only 3 years. Most of the time, the arcade original is always better than the console port, but Tekken 3 is one of the few cases where that's not the case. With additional characters and exclusive modes, the PS1 version of Tekken 3 is the go-to version. And we're playing that version. I bought this copy on a whim in 2021 and never touched it since.
Can you get into the f***ing fish?
On to Tekken 3. Tekken 3 starts with an okay intro, it doesn't get me hyped like the last 2. I honestly prefer the arcade intro, which is literally just the game's box art. But nothing beats the classic Tekken 2 intro with Heihachi's f***ing hilarious face. The story of Tekken 3 happens around 20 years after Tekken 2. Here we are introduced to Jim Kazuma, Kazuya and Jun's son. He lived and trained with his mom till an ancient creature called the Ogre attacked and possibly killed Jun along with some other characters. Rip King 1, he was one wholesome character. And when finally he's all grown up, Heihachi alongside his buddy Ogre organized the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3, and with a chance of revenge, Jin enters the tournament to kill Ogre. Spoiler alert, Paul Phoenix of all characters won the tournament and dealt with Ogre, but Jin came in and killed True Form Ogre. Yay! Returning characters include Yoshimitsu, Nina Williams, Paul Phoenix, Lei Wulong, Heihachi Mishima and Anna Williams. And we also have new characters that assume the mantle of previous characters. For example, instead of Martial Law, we have his son Forest Law, which looks and acts like his dad, an amazing character that aside from spin-offs, never returned to the series. The original king from Tekken 1 and 2 is no more after his death on the hands of Ogre, and now enter King 2. It's just King, gameplay and visual wise, but an interesting take on the character on the story department. Kuma 2 is Kuma's son, but that giant rat died between Tekken 2 and 3, and now we have an actual bear that doesn't look like a beaver. And this is the Kuma we see in the games to this day, so shout out to Tekken Kuma. And Jack 3 is Jack 3 times. Moving over to the newcomers, we have 11 new characters. Jin Kazuma, Kazuya and Jun's son. Yeah, that's his full name. Ling Xiaoyu, Jin's love interest and the character with the best ending. Eddie Gordo, the funny capoeira man with an even funnier last name. If you know Portuguese, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Dr. Boskonovic, an old man that I just refuse to unlock. Brian Fury, a cyborg maniac that I can't look the same way after Tekken 8. This community, man, I gotta tell ya. Ogre actually has two variants, Ogre and True Form Ogre, and one more uglier than the other. Cool, Vanilla Ogre is just better in my opinion. Julia Chang is the daughter of Michelle Chang from the previous two games, and she works pretty much just like her mother. I could have included her with characters like Forrest and Kuma, but the later games changed her so much that she became its own thing. And then we have Mokujin, simply the best character in the entire game and possibly the entire franchise. A character that looks funny, acts funny and mimics other characters. Sign me up, this is the kind of stuff I want. But if you play on PS1, you can unlock Gon. That's right, me.
You're not in Tekken.
Not yet, maybe when my imaginative company shuts down I will. Gon is the titular character from the manga series, Gon, about a little dinosaur and his shenanigans. I don't know, I never read it. But, from my understanding, he's the most powerful character in all of Tekken. Good to share the same name as this guy. Here on the console version we have two new modes, Tekken Ball and Tekken Force. Tekken Ball is a personal favorite of mine, that's why I was thrilled when it returned in Tekken 8. It's a very simple game mode. It's basic beach volley, but you attack and launch ultimate combos to a volleyball. The match ends when someone loses its life bar. It's a fun mode and a breath of fresh air compared to the regular arcade mode. And then there's Tekken Force, I'm not a fan of this one. It's a side-scrolling game where you fight the Tekken Force military in 4 stages. I only played it to unlock Boskonovic, and look where it went. At least it gave chicken.
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 Just play the damn game.
Got it. Here we go. Arcade mode. The classic never misses, and here in Tekken 3 is better than ever. First off, the gameplay got a major upgrade. The difference between Tekken 1 and this is night and day. This plays and feels like a modern fighting game. It's awesome. And fuck, I don't talk about game soundtrack very often, but this game is full of bangers. Jesus.
What you mean you don't talk about it very often? I've only heard you talk about one game before.
Now that I think about it, who are you talking to when we're not around?
The wall.
The f***, dude?
These endings go pretty hard. Honestly, I don't know what's better, Mokujin's realistic ending or Law's goofy ass ending. Oh, and how could I forget about Heihachi's ending where he throws his grandson out of an helicopter? Bro never learned from Kazuya. Tekken 3 is just a definition of peak gaming. I don't know how Namco did it, but they made an absolute timeless game and not many games can do that. This game is the fighting game. Shaq Fu is second fiddle, I guess, I don't know, never played it. If I had to recommend one Tekken game to start it all, this is the one. It was my first Tekken and it turned me into a huge fan, so I have a sweet spot for this one. And that's basically all I have to say about Tekken 3, even though all I described was from my last experience 3 years ago.
Dude, we didn't even press start.
Yeah, and after that stupid nostalgia critic, the wall joke, I don't think I want to play with you anymore.
I think you should stay locked here, Gon.
Yeah, it was painfully unfunny!
Oh, sorry it didn't work out. It's a great game.
Well, that was certainly a Tekken 3 talk-through. Damn, I kinda regret not playing it. Those graphics look cool.
That's why we need you, Scorpion. That clan needs your help.
How's it going? Gon here. 64. It's the 64th time I sit down and talk about something, and yup, I counted. What a monumental achievement, even if it kinda ruined me. But what could I possibly talk about? Something that rhymes with 64. How about the 1000-year Blood War? Let's talk about PlayStation Network instead. Sony f***ed multiple times. Only this year, in 2024, they wasted $400 million on Concord and shut the servers down in a span of 2 weeks. And now they're asking $700 for a console that doesn't even play games? Where's the disc tray, Sony? Sony certainly doesn't know what they're doing sometimes, and this whole Concord situation made me look back at the PSN hack of 2011, possibly the biggest gaming outage of all time. The PS3 is cool, right? It is by far the most underrated Sony console, with incredible titles and an unforgettable legacy. But who would have thought that that would be the case? Yeah, before release, Sony was actively killing themselves in front of us. Every new reveal was like they were backstabbing the consumers and everyone else. It was dumb. But one of the reveals that stood out was the PlayStation Network. Whoa, an actual online service, 4 years after Xbox Live! This service would be free and include connectivity with the PSP, online multiplayer games, the PlayStation Store, PlayStation Home, and other features. Sony's intent was to create a world where every player is connected all the time. A PlayStation world, I should say. When the PS3 released, PSN was kinda shitty, and compared to Xbox Live on the 360, Sony was on a tough spot.
Fucking I own you, little bitch.
And that was the PS3 for the first couple of years, a mediocre online with okay games. But 2009, oh 2009, the year where we got Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, and most importantly, the PS3 Slim and the new and revised PlayStation Network. And only 1 year later, we got a premium subscription service known as PlayStation Plus, giving you access to free games, store discounts, exclusive stuff, and much more. Sony finally made a somewhat decent online service. I'm impressed. But who wouldn't? They made Little Big Planet. But when you make something, there will be people that won't like it, and some fellas at Anonymous were those people. Kinda. Let me explain. It all started with an individual called Graf Shakolo from the hacker group Fail Overflow, a man that just wanted Linux on his PS3. Yeah, he and the famous hacker, GeoHot, were the first people to successfully crack the PS3's code, even made a homebrew for the console and made it available on the internet. Normal stuff, people hack things all the time and gaming consoles are no different. But Sony caught wind of these hacks and sent a cease and desist to the hacking group and issued them to take the hacks down. And enter Anonymous. They were not happy at Sony for taking legal action at the hackers, so they made a statement basically declaring war at Sony. And from April 4th to the 7th of 2011, PlayStation Network went offline for the first time, in result of numerous attacks made by Anonymous, so it was virtually impossible to do anything online. Yep, poor Junior couldn't play Call of Duty Black Ops during those days. After the 7th, Anonymous announced that they were no longer attacking PSN and that they were sorry for attacking customers when their intent was to attack the company. April 20th, 2011. The PSN goes offline again, but this time it was serious. Apparently from the 17th to the 19th, someone was attacking the servers and possibly stealing data from the users, and that forced Sony to shut down the PSN for the time being. Sony conducted an investigation to inverse the occurrence, but it was too late, the deed was already done. PSN was no more for the moment. And everyone was not happy, and that's expected. Who wouldn't? Like, come on, I want to play Uncharted 2 online in peace! You know it's over when it's on the f***ing news. The news are finally worth watching. The outage was still ongoing, and that possibility of stealing personal data became a reality. No one was safe. Except people that didn't own a PS3, which was a lot actually. Sony later made an apology in the next month, and announced that every PSN user would receive the welcome backpack by signing back on. This pack included 1 month of PS Plus and a selection of games. PlayStation Network was down for a total of 24 days. The servers only returned on May 14th, 2011, making this the biggest outage in gaming history. We don't know exactly who attacked the servers. Some suspected it was Anonymous, but they disproved that theory, and that mystery still remains. This attack was terrible for PS3 users, but no one was in a worse position than Sony. This outage cost over $170 million, plus a £250,000 fine, plus a bunch of lawsuits from third-party developers. See, PSN was down for almost a month and many online games weren't playable during that period, and that prevented companies from said games receiving revenue. Later in E3 2011, Sony made a public apology to the third-party devs and the consumers. Sony f***ed. This whole fiasco wasn't entirely their fault, they weren't the ones stealing data for f***'s sake, but at the same time, they were definitely the ones to blame. Multi-billion-dollar company, they don't offer a decent protection to the consumers? That's just bad. Like, holy shit, how do you f*** that up? In the end, this costed an arm in the leg for Sony, and we got a month of PS Plus and a handful of games. That's honestly the best they've given in the last 10 years. This was just something that popped into my head recently. I'm so glad I can talk about this stuff in secret. Well, except you. It's just between you and me, nostalgia critics the wall. What a wonderful yap sesh.
Virgin Busters Industries have just released a new reality show called Goncalus, a show about the daily life of criminal Goncalus. This person was the one responsible for the death of the late Mr. Monster, and fans of the YouTuber are not happy. This show is just a glimpse at the dark reality at the times are moving to, where
Son, don't get carried away. I know you want your revenge, but he's way out of your league, despite how ridiculous he looks.
But Dad, I mean, Lord Steel.
No buts, you had one job and failed to do so. Prepare the All-Stars, let the Virgin Games begin.
What do you all want? There's nothing to talk about. What game, huh? Underworld Eternal War for the PS2? Huh? How about Metal Gear Solid? But guess what? I can't play stealth games. Garfield for the PS2? That's what I thought. My passion for games is dead. I can't play games anymore. I can't talk about games anymore. I'm bloody useless to everyone watching me. I'm done. There's no beacon of hope anywhere I look. I would've talked about Checkers Party Quiz, but without those other boards, it's an incomplete review. And even then, how would I play it? If only there was a game that I could just complain about it instead of playing it. The SNES Classic Edition is one of the best mini consoles of all time. The sheer quality of the game selection plus an amazing miniature-sized look make this one of the best things Nintendo released in the 2010s. And with the release of the SNES Classic, we finally got our first SNES game in 17 years, Star Fox 2, the previous cancelled sequel for the SNES original. I've had mine since 2018 and it was definitely worth my money. But not anymore apparently. You might be asking, why the f is he talking about something everybody knows? Talk about the game, damn it. Cause we'll be hacking it. I decided that this list isn't enough, so let him have some more. Here we have Maximum Carnage and Mario is missing cause we can't have an SNES without them. Here's some other games that Nintendo pissed on completely like Chrono Trigger and the other Final Fantasies. How the f didn't we get any Mortal Kombat? I guess Nintendo wanted a lower age rating to reach a bigger audience, but come on, the only people buying this thing are people that grew up with the SNES or retro geeks like myself. Anyways, here we have the mythical Shaq Fu. I don't know much about this game, but a little research doesn't hurt. Shaq Fu is a real guy? Shaquille O'Neal, the Hot Ones guy, and one of the Fortnite guys, and... oh, he also played basketball? In the early 90s, Shaq was at his peak. Bro was going crazy on the NBA, and whether you love him or hate him, you have to agree that he is an NBA legend. Only 2 years after starting his NBA run on Orlando Magic, Electronic Arts, yes, EA of all companies, created a fighting game featuring Shaq himself alongside some other wacky characters that I've never heard before. Yup, cause surely the first thing you think of a Shaq game is a fighting game. EA f***ing sucks. Shaq Fu released for the Super Nintendo, Sega Mega Drive and Amiga Computer on October 1994, and 1 year later for the Game Boy and Game Gear. It's actually surprising how this didn't get an arcade release, but it's Shaq Fu. Who would have cared? Let's play Shaq Fu and hope for the worst so I quit gaming altogether. Shaq Fu is the gaming definition of unpredictable, cause why the f does this game have a story mode? Shaq Fu has a roster of 12 characters, but to summarize, it's just Shaq and some unmemorable goofballs I've never heard about. We have Auroch, Beast, Kaori, Mephis, Colonel, Nezu, Raja, Seth, Voodoo, Leotsu, and Diesel. So bad. I love fighting games and I've played a ton of them, and this is the most nothing roster I've ever seen. Now, if all players were Shaq, you know, player 2 plays as Base Shaq, player 2 plays as Blue Shaq, and so on, that would have been much better and easier to make. Everyone knows Shaquille O'Neal, they're obviously gonna pick that character instead of the others. If you think that's the worst part, just look at the gameplay. Janky and unresponsive, gotta love Shaq's fire moves. Why are the controls so jumpy? This doesn't feel like a fighting game at all! I actually prefer the handheld ports of Shaq Fu, cause this plays just like your average Game Boy fighting game. Shaq Fu on the Game Boy and Game Gear are decent on what they do. The gameplay is the worst. The stages are good though. And these victory moves are actually pretty good, even though I don't know what's Shaq doing. The fact that we can recreate these exact moves in Fortnite with the Shaq skin is hilarious. I love this game. I'm just stalling at this point. Let's get into what you came for. Shaq Fu's selling point. The story mode. The story sees Shaq walking down in Tokyo and he stumbles upon a small kung fu dojo with an old man inside. And now the geezer is forcing Shaq to save a kid called Nezu by entering in his closet. Without any explanation, cause that's what the game does best. No, just no. I'm not playing all that. It's Shaq Fu. Putting at least 20 minutes into this garbage is suicide. I have so much stuff to do instead of playing this What? I gotta tell my doctor. Seriously, people?
You have 8 hours sleep, buddy.
What? Why does he want to kill him now? We invaded the place last year.
I don't know. I also don't know why would you tamper with the border? Are you crazy?
I was about to ask who that purple PNG was, but it seems I'm still unanswered.
Remember that girl bot who wasted her time watching your ass do absolutely nothing while we were waiting for you to start the game? That's her. Kinda different. It's weird.
Yes, I'm the real Aaron, but what difference does it make? I'm still a two-dimensional bot.
At least you have 2 dimensions. Have you seen all those one-dimensional people walk?
Hey, don't discriminate my 1Ds.
Okay, can we get back into the I'm dying part, cause this is all too sudden.
You're cursed, Gon. You've always been, ever since the beginning.
The beginning?
Yes, since 2 years ago. Remember when you first started talking about your interest in your room for no one to see? Well, what if I told you you weren't actually alone? The Virgin Busters always had an eye on you way before your encounter with Mr. Monster and the TV show, and that yellow border serves as a time bomb in case you did something stupid. Which you did. Your limit was 5 years, now you're down to 8 hours. Think about it.
Damn, I mean, my life literally became a reality show in these last few months, so of course I would go crazy.
But because of your stupid ass, I had to quit my grass marathon, and I'm a grass person.
Can you please just calm down? I'm pumped as much as you guys, but KFC is not going anywhere.
KFC? No, you got it all wrong. We're going to crash the games. Not just any games. The Virgin Games.
The annual Virgin Games tournament? Those Virgin Games?
Hey, those won't be happening till next week. We'll be there by then.
Yes, but the preparations usually start 2 weeks prior. That will be enough to take down the Virgin Busters. And we've got everything planned out. See? Each All-Star has a unique ability. Lord Forsaken is a fire user, Ogrishman can manipulate his and anyone's blood, and so on. So be careful who you go up against. While you guys do that, me and Gon will take on Philip Steele. He's the leader and the one who's gonna kill him if we don't do anything. But here's the fun part. They have a rat within their ranks, and her help will be plenty.
And a fuzzy talker as well.
Hey, Gus Fuzz, right? I wonder where he is.
He's currently below the Virgin Game setting up a nuclear bomb. If we somehow lose, they're gonna die either way. But we're also going with them. It's a victory for me, at least.
Dude, that stealing fentanyl from addicts at 3 AM was so fire, bro. Keep up good work, okay?
Thanks, man.
How much time does he have?
I'm sorry?
Goncalus Maximus, you know, the one who put an end to your career. How much time does he have left?
7 hours, 32 minutes, 44 seconds, 43 seconds, 42 seconds, 40 seconds.
I think that's enough time for me to go back to his place and have a rematch.
Don't bother, he's washed. Even his extra powers would make him collapse.
It's up, guys! Get ready, get ready!
All stars, back your position. Prepare the Virgin Shield.
Good luck.
This is not what I was expecting, but let's finish this anyway.
If we don't do this, you guys owe me $50. Beyond the grave.
Gosh, those were my favorite legs.
How long has it been, Goncalus?
Oh, a virgin.
A mega virgin, you twat.
Did I have some buzz?
You can't run away from me. I am Ogrishman. I am sire of blood and gore. You cannot escape me.
Well, you got away. Thanks for nothing, legs.
Manhunt, go!
Dude, what the fuck? How did they already find me?
Let me kick on them balls.
Let alone one of them, but two! And one of them is another fire user. Who am I kidding? Oi, edgy guy, leave!
He's all yours, man. I don't even know what kind of matchup Shadow and Fire is. So enjoy, dude. Enjoy.
You're not so bad after all.
Scorpion versus Lord Forsaken, right after the break.
In the realm of virginity, everything is possible.
If you don't have anything decent to say, just shut it. The All-Stars only have 2 jobs. Steal Chegger's party quiz from Goncalus and kill the intruders, especially the robot girl.
What? Erin? Didn't you create her? Oh, she's my sister. I don't even remember interacting with her. Well, maybe... Wait, the signal's back. Dude, what the fuck? Yo, what the f***?
What's your gimmick, dude?
My inner game, Symphony of the Night, lets me change the shape of my sword by my own will. Pretty cool, eh?
Oh, I got a crazy idea.
Suicide again, huh, Goncalus?
Jagger's power, goddammit.
Ah, let's go!
Chris, what's your situation?
I'm running away from a guy shooting blood from his hands. What do you think I'm doing?
Oh, that must be Ogrishman. His inner game is Manhunt. Just dodge his attacks and strike him with your ice buck. But be careful, his blood's poisonous. Bye-bye. That idiot. Seems like some things never change. It doesn't matter. We have to find the arrow and... What the... Shit. I guess I have no choice but to do this. Behold!
You're now listening to Obadiah Mob's music.
Wait. She's dead.
I see now, Gon. I might only be a contracted mercenary by Mr. Steel and an honorary member of the Virgin Busters, but you, Goncalus, have officially defeated the Virgin Buster. Congrats. That game is truly something, eh?
It was a matter of time, Silas. The people have been waiting for this. But hey, I love to go in KFC with you. So bad. Might be.
I'd love that. Hey, Silas von Virgo. He took me out, Mr. Steel. I lost. What? He fused that Jagger's game with a bottle of milk and it was stronger than my Symphony of the Night. Your Symphony of the Night isn't worth jack shit, Silas. I don't think you're getting away from this. Fuck you, Philip Steele. You never cared about us. We all do your dirty deeds and you just sit there on your chair. You don't even care about your own son. The poor kid never had a childhood. You never took him to the park. You never took him to KFC. And whatever. The time has come, Mr. Monster.
What?
I'm deploying the Shackinator.
But that's genocide. The Sharkinator will just kill everything and everyone inside, Lord Dad.
Think about it. There will be no more enemies. Gon, his gang, the media, they'll all be gone.
Oh no.
It can't be! What's that?
One of my dad's creations. The Colossal Killer. The Shackinator.
Hey you! I'm Nuke Duke, one of the version.
What's that?
Little bit of an update. The bomb is activated and it's going to explode in about 18 minutes.
Gone! There you are! Come on, let's go kill that motherfucker.
Don, are you ready? No.
Too bad.
Aaron, we're about to fall.
Shit.
Hold tight.
Lord Forsaken! Wait! What are you doing?
Careless bastard.
It don't matter. That thing down there was gonna kill me anyways. Besides, you have to kill the bastard that caused all of this.
Welcome. You've made it to my lair.
Philip, what have you done to Arrow?
You think I didn't know about our little rat? Don't worry. It was a quick job.
So, are you the cause of my pain and suffering?
Correct. But you ain't getting away from the one, the only, the tyrant, the board, the leader of the Virgin Busters, Philip Steele.
Philip Steele? I think I've heard that name before. Yeah, you're that YouTuber Philip Steele. Wait, you're a virgin?
Not only that, the TV show you previously guest starred in was also mine. But guess what? They were in disguise, a farce to cover up my secret identity. And you gone were the perfect addition to my virgin roster.
Do tell.
Remember my son, Mr. Monster?
Wait, you're alive?
Well, since you've beaten him, he has sought revenge. That's why your bounty got higher and we lost interest in contracting you to the group. Do you still seek revenge? Very well. I'm the guy who gives people diseases, Goncalus. Remember Adam and Eve? It was all bullshit. I was the first human. Even better, the first being to ever be brought into the world. I evolved with the monkeys and the dinosaurs gone. I was there.
Bullshit.
Goncalus, I challenge you to a duel.
Sure. Bring it on, Philip.
No, that won't work. No, silly. This is called the Virgin Busters. The only way to break this barrier is to outsmart a virgin, and I'm going easy on you.
Fine. What are we talking about?
How about Shaq Fu?
Don't you mean the 1994 SNES, Genesis, Game Boy, Game Gear game called Shaq Fu starring Shaquille O'Neal?
What?
Missed the platform, the game also released for the Amiga.
Damn, he's good.
I'm impressed, Don. This is clearly a game you're not a fan of, but you still know that useless information. Just for the hell of it, why not? Hate me!
No!
Don't take it personally. My body's just immune to diseases.
Oh, that's cool.
No one has a more inner virgin game than myself. Hockey for the PS2!
Hacky for the PS2? But that game is not real! Oh!
He's not even anymore. You have to kill him, y'all.
A man! God damn it.
You thought it was over, huh, Goncalus? The clock is ticking. The bomb is about to blow up. There's no way you're making it out of here alive.
Damn, Jaggers, give me strength.
Yo, Philip, it's been a while.
Huh? Aaron?
Focus, Gon. Concentrate all your energy into one place. Let's go! Colossal Killer! Goodbye, you bastard.
What? It's not over yet. It never will.
We did it. We did it. The porter is gone. Aaron, we did it. Aaron?
How's it going, Gone here? These last 3 years were crazy. I was infected with the border disease by a maniac demigod, I joined a cult, I invaded a talk show and the secret base of a corrupt content creator, I created a company, I shut down a company, and finally, I killed the root of all my problems. But all of this wouldn't have happened without Aaron and the Colossal Clan. We're doing pretty well, all things considered. I just hope that Philip still is rotting in hell and we can just move on.
Thank God this is over. What's next? Oh, of course. After all these things don't play by themselves. What was that?